Everyone, just getting the live started now. Hopefully volume's okay. Decided to rain, which is lovely. So this is approaching the slaughterhouse now. Hey Arvin, hey Laura. Just getting set up at the moment. Bear with me for 2 seconds. Cool, so let me spin this around, sorry for the lag. Okay. So yeah, this is a Q&A, so please do put any questions you've got in the chat and I'll do my best to respond to them. Oh. Thanks everyone for joining. I know it's fairly early on a Friday morning, a bit later than expected, but we're here, so that's the main thing. At Slaughterhouse today, which is a sheep slaughterhouse. And yeah, thanks for the questions that are already coming in. I've just seen one from Arvin about ethical meat. I don't know if Laura's already replying to that. But what do you, saying no audio. Can you all hear me all right? You can just post in the chat if you can hear me okay. Arvin's saying no audio. Hear you fine. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, anytime my audio sort of breaks a bit, please just let me know. Hey Chris, thanks for being in the chat. Yeah, no worries, Arvin. So Minecraft, so I'm at a slaughterhouse today in Dorset. If I just show you behind me exactly where we are. So this is a sheep slaughterhouse. This massive facility takes baby lambs in every single day of the week. All times of day, they take sheep in during the night and they take them behind these gates of hell. So this is another one of the infamous brands, ABP. It's an Irish company that basically own one of the most majority of slaughterhouses in the UK. Just flip this back around. So what will happen is, if you've never joined these sort of streams before, trucks will come into this facility. Inside of these trucks will be baby lambs, usually between 4 to 6 months old. They'll be taken behind these gates of hell and they'll be taken right to the rear of this facility. They'll basically then offload all of the lambs into a massive holding pen, which they could stay for hours in these awful cramped conditions. And then what will happen is that they will basically move from right to left in this huge facility and what they would call process these lambs. But we all know what that actually means. That means that they are killing these lambs. What they'll likely do is get electric prongs and prong them into the head in the attempt to stun them, or they'll use almost like clamping tongs to stun them. But we know, and if you've ever seen footage of this, you know that the stunning doesn't even work. These animals are conscious. And what will happen is that they'll then get strung up by their necks, strung up by their legs, and they will have their necks sliced open. And this all happens because people, consumers, are paying for lamb products. So that's why that we are here as part of Project Livestream today. There are live streamers all around the country, all around the world, I should even say, that are going to their, whether it's local slaughterhouses, whether it's slaughterhouses miles away, people all going down there, taking their phones with them, and they are streaming the reality. Because that's all we're doing. We are becoming a window to show you what actually happens in these facilities. So as you can see behind me, security have just become aware of my presence. They're radioing in. Probably a bit panicked now. You can see him trying to talk to someone. So yeah, obviously security, they never know what to do with activists. Obviously we're all here to be peaceful and I'd say as respectful as possible, but obviously we're outside a slaughterhouse and what goes on inside these places is far from respectable. So what I'm doing is obviously setting up a Q&A today. So there'll be people that have joined these streams before, but there'll also be people that have never come across this type of stream before. So I want to become that window and answer as many questions as possible as I can to help you sort of make that connection with the animals and to realize that you don't have to support these choices. Let's all be respectful and not trigger people. Yeah, so Arvin, just curious, so you put a few questions in the chat. So have you joined these streams before, Arvin? Is this your first time sort of seeing people outside of a slaughterhouse? And do you have any questions for me? Or we've got some vegans in the chat. Broccoli Babe, good to see you. And obviously we've got Chris, Mel and Steve, Laura, as well as others that will be joining this chat. So any questions that you have, please put them in. And I will do my best to try and answer them. Minecraft says, I work in there, by the way. Oh, if you work there, feel free to come out and we'll have a chat. Are you on shift now? Come out and have a chat. Let's, yeah, let's talk about it. This is an empty truck. I'm just flipping it around. So often they'll transport the containers onto these trucks, whether they're dead animals' bodies or not. I'm not sure what he's doing, so I'm just keeping the camera on the vehicles. As we know, we can never really trust what the vehicles are doing in these situations. So always best to have a bit of security. Okay. So another truck just pulled in just right next to me, so I'm just staying aware. So they've backed up 2 trucks. Here they often do that to try and block the site and the access to seeing what goes on behind these gates here. So that's why we're just obviously staying in as much and as best view as possible so we can see goes on. So I'm just going to move over and show you the facility again. So inside we've got security, we've got these trucks, and what goes on behind these gates is basically a massive killing factory. So Arvin, I've just seen your comment. So you said, yes, I have, and I considered being vegan once. So Arvin, what happened? What was it that, firstly, what was it that made you consider being vegan once? And secondly, what happened? Why did you choose to not do that? Minecraft, okay, I'm on shift. Yeah, if you're genuinely here, Minecraft, please come out and let's have a chat. There's a truck coming out and I've just realised I've left my water bottle on the other side of the road. So bear with me for 2 seconds. So you might have also seen other live streamers on your YouTube verticals today. Please do give them a lot of support. You know, any likes, subscribes, comments on any of their live streams will massively help the reach of all these videos. Hi Joanna, thank you very much for the comment. This place is disgusting all over the floor. Just oil and shit, basically. So we've seen so far one massive double-decker truck go in. It was just as I was pulling up at the facility, so I wasn't able to get it on camera, but no doubt there will be way more to come. So we'll capture them as they come through and you can see it live. You can see the reality, the animals that are coming in on these trailers live. So Arvi said, first, I think factory farming is extremely unethical, but we also have to consider the nutritional value of meat. And if you have access to ethical meat, I think it is healthy and you should eat it. So Arvin, firstly, yeah, again, you put this earlier in the chat. What is ethical meat? Can you just define what you believe ethical meat can mean? But secondly, the part of that is you consider the nutritional value of meat. So this is, again, a complete myth that you need meat to survive. Otherwise, you know, the millions of vegans around the world wouldn't be standing here, living and breathing. You need nutrients, not ingredients. You can get all the nutrients that you need from plants, from a fully plant-based diet. So Will said, are you vegan? Yes, I am vegan. Because I do not want to support the absolute atrocities that happen in these facilities. I don't want to support industries that chop animals' heads off. And yes, there is someone behind me, so we've got security. There you go, keep them in shot there. You can keep an eye on security. So what I'm going to do is just put a little poll up. So I'm just putting a poll up just to see the people in the chat if they've actually seen what happens inside of a slaughterhouse. That doesn't mean physically yourself being there and going inside of one. It means, have you seen inside of a slaughterhouse on some sort of documentary? Maybe you've watched Dominion. It's a very famous documentary, the reality of what happens to animals. I'd highly encourage every single one of you to watch Dominion if you haven't already, or something like The Land of Hope and Glory, or even if it's something like the 3-minute movie challenge that you might have seen in your local high streets. So I'll keep the poll up for a while as more people enter the chat. And yeah, we're just curious to see what the opinions are. So Minecraft says, do you want a chat now? Yeah, absolutely. Genuinely, if you're here, Minecraft, please do come out and we'll have a chat. I'll keep an eye out for you. So Arvin Josh says, first, I define ethical meat as, oh, I can't see half of that chat. Ethical meat that has not been factory farms. To consider ethical animals who have good living conditions, I believe the slaughter must be painless. So, Arvin, you do realise that even non-factory farmed animals come to exactly the same facilities. In this specific place, as well as many others, you have the large trucks, but you also have the small trailers from local farms with your farm that brings in 2 or 3 sheep that have supposedly had good living conditions, but they end up in the same slaughter facilities. And you've got to ask yourself the question, if it's really ethical, would you swap places with them? Would you take their place inside? Would you want to have your head chopped off? Looks like both the trucks are on the move again. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Get down there, there we go. So Natalia Vegan, I'm proud of the courage of vegan activists. Thanks, Natalia. I mean, just being on these live streams and commenting massively supports these videos. We need more and more people like you to be joining these streams, and same with Broccoli Babe. Like, we need these vegans in the chat to help answer the questions, but also to show you the support, because then the more comments on these videos, the greater the reach of these videos will do. So Minecraft, you at the front or the back? I am right outside the front. If you actually worked here, you probably recognise the what this is. So there's actually two security now, which is interesting. I don't know if you can see them. Let me stand this side. There we go. So you can see security on camera there. So we've got two of them come out now. Just curious to see what they're going to do. Z for music, you need to tackle human issues first, then we can unite and sort out the animals. It makes no sense to do it in this order. So believe it or not, you can actually care about humans and animals. You can care about both at the same time. So the fact that what's happening to animals is happening right now, there is a sense of urgency about this. And if we have a moral agency and moral urgency to fight for these animals, we can't just put them back and wait for them. We have to fight right now, because if you were in their position, how would you feel? So just going to close the poll. So majority of people have seen and survived a slaughterhouse. So, I mean, hopefully by that logic, if you've seen what happens to animals, you would have now made the ethical decision to become vegan. It's the only logical thing you can do. Also agree that we don't need animals to survive, but I think it's healthier for humans. So, Alvin, you're firstly saying we need meat, and now you're saying, well, you don't need it, but it's better. Like, how long will it take you to get to the step where you don't need any of it at all? So you've mentioned B12 and taurine. You can get these from plant-based diets. So let's talk about B12. So B12 doesn't naturally occur in animals either. B12 originates from bacteria in the soil. And what happens is the animals fed often B12 into their feed, and that's how people then consume the B12 through the animal as a secondary source. So, you know, we can just take a B12 supplement, or you can take B12 fortified foods. You know, soy milk nowadays is fortified with B12. We've got things like nutritional yeast that has got B12 in it. You can get lots of plant-based foods that have B12 in it, and the same with taurine. You don't need the animal, you need the ingredient. If you can get that ingredient in a much more ethical way. So Arvin, I mean, look into, you know, just Google it or go to ChatGPT and you can find all the various sources. I'm pretty sure that I've got a pre-workout that has taurine in it. Couldn't tell you the amount of grams in it, but you know, it's just a case of just Google it and you know that there's always a way to supplement the nutrients that you need. So MPT123, you said, tell us how we're going to feed the world. So here's an interesting thing. We're struggling to feed 8 billion humans right now, but we can feed 92 billion land animals. So there was a study that showed that we can basically rewild and restore up to 75% of the arable land today that is currently used for animal agriculture. It's such an inefficient system when you're thinking about feeding the world, because we're growing all these crops but then feeding them to plants and then only getting a small percentage of calories back through the system. So a much more efficient food system is just to eat the crops that we grow and not feed them to animals and then slaughter the animals, take their lives away and then take a small percentage of those calories. Yeah, thank you, Arvin, and thank you for being open-minded. Yeah, more energy efficient. Think of, and you can look up all these stats and facts. There's a good documentary called Cowspiracy that talks a lot about this. But, you know, the biggest drivers of deforestation, water use, land use, this is all basically coming from animal agriculture. That is a leading cause, a leading driver of that. Minecraft, you're around the corner. I mean, there's a couple of people around the corner, to be fair now. So, curious if you are actually going to come over and have a chat. I'm a meat lover, but no, finding it hard, the cost of everything. I use food bank, but not choice to, it's individual choice. So you're saying, do you only eat food that comes from a food bank? Or do you have the choice when you go into supermarkets and you basically pay for the choice that you want to make? Now the two people that round the corner Minecraft have now walked in, starting to think you're not here. Will, so can you answer my question a bit further up the chat? Oh, sorry. So this is a truck coming out now. So this would have been full of lambs about 6 months old, sometimes as young as 4 months old, and they're taken in on these trailers, taken inside the facility. And his, you can see how triggered he is. Using your phone whilst driving, that's illegal, mate. I'll charge you for that. Check his reg. You see all the shit coming out the back. WF24VYX. So we'll be reporting him later using his phone whilst in a moving vehicle. It's so funny that, you know, what are they doing with those videos now? I'd love to know. They're sending around to their friends and talk about a person that's standing outside a slaughterhouse trying to speak up for animals. Alex got stood up. Yeah, Minecraft, if that was you, if that was genuinely you, please send me that video on Instagram later. You can find me at alex.activism. You know, please send me that video, and what I can do, I can send you the video in return. And also the police report. So Zifa Music saying, let's debate face to face, honestly. If you want to show the world, answer me. How about bugs we kill? Right, okay. If there's any vegans in the chat, please do help me respond to some of these questions. There's quite a few coming in now. And whilst you're there, please do double tap the screen and like this video. It helps show it to more and more people. So Zifa Music, what I'd say before we do any sort of debate, and Arvin, you might be interested in this as well. If you go to this video description in the live stream, there's a link to something called 3minutes.wtf. If you go into there and go and watch that 3-minute movie, I'd happily then debate you afterwards. But I think as a good starting point, go and watch it. It's completely free. You know, we don't gain anything from that. Go and watch that 3-minute movie. You can either click the link or copy and paste it into your browser. It's 3minutes.wtf. Go and watch it, and then pop back into the chat, and then we can have a proper discussion. Because I feel like that will help shape potentially any sort of arguments that you might have against it if you haven't already seen footage. So Arvin said, Alex, what made you become vegan? So Arvin said you already watched it. Okay, so what made me become vegan? I sat down and watched a documentary called Earthlings. And what it did was basically take you through different segments of how we exploit animals. It takes you through, obviously, the food system. It takes you through clothing. It takes you through the pet industry. It takes you through animals and entertainment. So for things like horse racing. And what that did, it kind of just took the veil off and showed the real reality of what happens in these industries. But something that we're all kind of subject to in terms of the marketing, you know, the sort of brainwashing that these industries force upon us. That we think, you know, animals are treated well, you know, it's natural. All of these things is something that we had all believed at some point. And until someone actually sort of challenges that and you see it for yourself, you realise there's an alternative. You don't need to exploit animals in your life. Comes the rain. So MPT rather, what was your question? I'm just scrolling back up the chat. So is it about crop deaths and bugs? Because if so, that's another sort of very common argument. So if you think about it, if you think and you're genuinely concerned about bugs and insects in a farmland, in a field, have you ever considered the fact that supporting the animal agriculture industry is actually causing more of these deaths? So this is the huge truck that's coming out now. So this again was full of baby animals, baby sheep, all been taken. Flip that around. So all those sheep are now likely into the holding pen at the rear of the facility. They will then have to wait who knows how long, depending on how many animals they've got in, and they'll be taken through the line in the slaughterhouse. They'll have an attempt at being sort of pronged in the neck, in the head, to stun them using big sort of prongs, or they've got like a straight prong that goes straight into the back of the necks. But as we know, after countless investigations, this doesn't even stun the animal. Not that stunning is even better or worse for the animal. Each animal then has to have their neck sliced open, their heads chopped off. Regardless of what happens in there, we know that these animals are having their lives taken from them at 4 to 6 months old. And this is the question that you need to ask yourselves. If you were a 4 to 6 month old baby, how would you feel about your head being chopped off? If that was your child, if you're a parent and you see one of your children at 4 to 6 months old, would you send them into a slaughterhouse? Minecraft saying, do you want a real chat? Well, Minecraft, you had the opportunity. If that was you on that truck, you had the opportunity to get out and talk and you didn't. Yeah, great shout, Mel and Steve. So in the chat right now, please put a 1 if you are vegan. Put the number 1 if you're vegan in the chat. Put a number 2 if you're curious about what veganism is or you're open to hearing more about being vegan. Put a number 2 in the chat. And if you're just an absolute troll that is just here to mock people and abuse people, put a number 3 in the chat. So put a number 1 if you're vegan, put a number 2 if you're open to hearing more about veganism, and put a number 3 if you're just a troll that's here because you've got nothing better to do with your day. It's great to see the ones in the chat. Mel and Steve, hopefully all the other live streamers are doing well at the moment. So this event is part of Project Livestream. We've got activists all around the country, all around the world, outside slaughterhouses all day today, all shining a light on what happens in these industries, all being that window of opportunity and raising awareness to people who are just scrolling through YouTube to find out exactly what happens in these facilities, what happens as a result of the choices that people make in supermarkets. MPT saying still doing nothing. Well, you know, the fact is many people go vegan just from a simple live stream because people see the reality, they see the animals, they hear about what happens to them, and they realize, oh, actually, I'm a compassionate person. So they make the change and they go vegan and they save animals. You alone, one person alone, can save about 200 animals every single year. And then if you speak up for animals and become an activist, you can save even more lives. And activism is so varied. You can be outside a slaughterhouse. You could be out in the fields, literally saving animals' lives, saving the lives of foxes and deer and rabbits that are hunted. Veganism extends to not exploiting animals across any industry, not just for food. And is it really that hard to ask? Really hard to grasp that concept that we should just respect animals and not cause them any pain, suffering, abuse, murder? Is it really that hard to think that we shouldn't do that to animals? Animals aren't just a resource, a commodity that we can use and abuse. Oh, my microphone is getting very wet. Silver haze, plants shouldn't be seen as sustenance, stop exploiting plants. It's just a classic, isn't it? It's just a classic. I'm assuming you're someone that probably put the number 3 earlier on in the chat. Oh. Yeah, well said, Laura. Well said. Leave animals the fuck alone. It's just that simple, isn't it? For the same reason that if you were walking along a street and you saw, I don't know, some random person just start kicking and beating up a dog, you probably feel like that wasn't right. And that's what happens when you realize what happens inside these industries. You realize that this also isn't right. The animals are knocked out when the head is cut off so they don't feel the pain of it. I mean, that is, unfortunately, that's what people are led to believe, but we know that's not true. Countless investigations, hidden cameras. I've seen hours and hours of footage of sheep, of cows, with the attempt to be stunned. You know, cows that are being bolt gunned to the head 3, 4, 5 times, still doesn't stun them. Improper use of equipment. And what happens is those animals are still conscious when they have their throats sliced open, their heads chopped off. And just think that's not also the way that all animals are killed. When we look at the pig industry and the chickens industry, they are sent into CO2 gas chambers. They are lowered down in gondolas, these big metal crates, into concentrated CO2 gas, where they will burn from the insides and suffocate to death. Stunning is irrelevant to what happens to these animals because we know that it's taking their life from them. And in the same way, you've always just got to flip that situation around to yourself. If you were going into the slaughterhouse, and would stunning you going into a slaughterhouse make it okay to take your life? If I stunned you, would that make it okay? Farmers are the best, keep farming. Are you're a farmer then, MPT, I'm assuming? Plant crop farmers are the best. So again, Zeef is trying to defer it onto other issues. You know, there's a lot of things like, oh, but what about this? What about that? Zeefa, what are you doing about animals? What are you doing about the billions of animals that are being killed every single year? Because we're feeding the world. But you, as we've said earlier, you can feed the world with plants. Zeefa, what are you doing about Nike? What are you doing about animals? Are you doing anything? Like, it's all good saying sweatshops, but what about slaughterhouses? War, yeah. But the thing is, we can all speak up for those issues. But the fact is, the primary focus of myself and many activists are on the animals. They are by biggest number, the exploited group in the world. And if they don't have a voice, then, you know, we hope, well, we need to be their voice. So Arvin, I've just seen a comment come through multiple times. So I think your problem with meat is the fact that animals suffer. If factory farms didn't exist, I believe you would still eat meat. No, so that's just not true, Arvin. It's just, unfortunately, that's just not true. It's just, this is the myth that the industries have done so well of showing you that local farms are much better than factory farms. But the fact is, there is no difference. I've seen these farms, both factory farms, local farms, the animals all end up in these same facilities. What does it matter where the animal has come from? There is no ethical way to take the life of an animal wherever it's come from. So a small local farm, if anything, there's obviously like these farmers supposedly on these small local farms that care for these animals. Is that not even more of a betrayal of that farmer to have a relationship with these animals, to be supposedly caring for them and then taking them to their death? It is the ultimate betrayal of farmers. MPT, is he to meat? Yeah, absolutely. I've been vegan for 5 years. Before that, I used to eat animals. But then I decided to change. I decided that actually, that's not very compassionate. That's not a nice thing to do. So I made the change. And that's what you can all do. Chloe Hartley, what's funny about all this? What's funny about animals getting their heads chopped off at 6 months old? So Manila says, is there any more turning up? There's high turnover. So, I mean, in terms of the trucks, they come through fairly regularly. Sometimes when there's activists outside, they like to divert the trucks, hold the trucks, take trucks in the night before. We know they play these silly little games, but the fact is that we've got activists at slaughterhouses all around the country. So, you know, if you're just scanning through YouTube verticals today, you'll probably see animals inside of these trucks. And when they do come around the corner, I will be obviously showing you the animals inside. And one thing I can show you is from this exact location a few months ago. These are the victims inside the trucks. These are the sheep that are taken inside to be pronged in the head and then have their throat sliced open, strung up by their legs. Can you seriously look them in the eyes and laugh? Chloe Hartley, do you have a heart? Can you seriously look at these animals and laugh about it? Why are you so triggered, Chloe? Why are you finding this so funny? Yeah, Joanna. Finally, Chloe, maybe you should take a leaf out of Joanna's book. She's actually got some compassion. It is absolutely heartbreaking. Come down to a local slaughterhouse. Come down to wherever you are. And go and see the reality for yourself. Spicy much again, but by putting that you are trolling, aren't you? Because you just don't care, clearly, you just don't care. Go into the video description in this video and check out 3minutes.wtf. It's completely free to watch. And go and see what happens to these animals yourself. Go and see what happens beyond these gates. So I guarantee there's people like Chloe that would never go and actually watch that because you're not brave enough, you just like to mock. Hey Chip, good to see you. If you're not already following, go and follow that Chip guy. He does an absolutely awesome outreach, does live streams as well. Yeah, go follow that Chip guy. Yeah, thanks Broccoli Babe. So yeah, we're in Dorset, so southwest of the UK. There's slaughterhouses all around the country. I mean, this company is owned by ABP. And they own multiple slaughterhouses all around the country. They take in sheep, they take in cows predominantly, they take in dairy cows and cows that are bred for meat. So Manilo said, Dorset local, I'm in Poole. So yeah, if you're in Poole, you're just down the road, what, half hour away maybe? So you've also got Sturminster Newton, Manilo, which is potentially even closer. They take in cows, dairy cows that are usually about 3 years old, who are basically spent in the dairy industry, and then they get slaughtered there for cheap meat. But they also take baby calves in as well. So Arvin Josh, like, you're just factually incorrect. You can be fully healthy on a plant-based diet, and there's countless studies that obviously show that you can be healthier on a plant-based diet. Just think, you don't get any of the bad cholesterol that's in meat. Also think about meat. You know, processed meat is classified as a class 1 carcinogen, known to directly cause cancer. Are you really telling me, Arvin, that meat is healthy when it causes cancer, raises your cholesterol, your blood pressure, is also a result of one of the #1 killers of heart disease? You don't get any of that from plants. But go and do that research yourself. So yeah, that Chip guy's just put the link in the chat. So go and click that link that Chip has put in the chat. It's 3minutes.wtf. Hit that link in the chat. It's completely free to watch and it's just 3 minutes. I'd urge you all to go and check it out and see the truth for yourself. And it stopped raining. Excellent. Yeah, thanks Arvin for being respectful. And I think Arvin, like, we almost need maybe more people like you in the way that you're open and curious and being respectful. But it's just for you, it's just like, if it really is just health, like, you've just got to look that out for yourself, but also realize that you can be fully healthy on a plant-based diet and no animal should be exploited for us to steal their bodies and steal their milk. So I am Spirit33. How can I make vegan friends or veggie friends? So, I mean, depending on where you are, you probably have loads of local vegan groups. You've got Facebook pages, Instagram pages. You might have WhatsApp groups. Most likely, if you reach out or look on Instagram, you'll find vegans around, and on Facebook. Yeah, broccoli babe. Yeah, you said it. Arvin is a vegan in the making. And also, Arvin, if you're still here, a documentary I found really interesting from a health perspective was What the Health. It's called What the Health. It's free to watch. I think it was on Netflix. Go and watch that, because that will debunk all of the questions that you have. BWTS999 saying, you need meat protein. Well, you don't need meat protein. Fact, you just don't need meat protein. Again, it's one of those things, you need nutrients, not ingredients. Arvin, don't join the cult. The cult of being kind. Chloe could never be kind. Chloe could never be part of the compassionate group then, clearly. If being kind and compassionate is a cult, sign me up. And yeah, that chip guy's just put some references in, so go and check that out as well. And if you're really interested, BWTS999 about protein, seriously go and check that chip guy out. You can see, obviously, what he looks like, the muscles that he has on plant-based protein. So, you know, you don't need you don't need animals to get protein. Protein comes from plants, by the way. Protein comes from plants. People that eat animals to get the secondary source of protein, but protein comes from plants. High protein foods like tofu, tempeh, seitan. You got beans and legumes, all great nutritional protein sources. So Spicy Much, you said, do you need/take supplements? A lot of people may supplement, but this isn't something that's a vegan or a non-vegan thing to do. You know, people should take multivitamins anyway, because people don't get enough. Especially in the winter months, it's always a good thing to take a multivitamin. But the fact is that you don't actually need to take supplements. If you're, you know, thinking about the obscure vitamins that always come to mind in these debates, like B12, you can get B12 elsewhere. You can get B12 in nutritional yeast. You can get B12 in soy milk, fortified, in cereals. You can get all the nutrients you need from foods. But there is no harm in taking a supplement as well. And what people may be even thinking, oh, well, I don't want to take supplement because it's not natural. But if you eat animals, they are fed supplements in their feed. They're given antibiotics, they're fed B12, all into their animal feed. So you're either taking it from a secondary source, or you can just get it from the plants, the foods, or a supplement yourself. So Stacey put, I've never eaten animals. I was brought up vegetarian, then went vegan when I was 27. 35 now, happy and healthy. That's brilliant. That's brilliant, Stacey. What was it out of interest, Stacey, that made you transition from vegetarian to vegan? What was it that made you do that switch when you were 27? Iron Spirit said, I know meat eaters that need to take iron vitamins. Makes me laugh when they say you need to eat meat for vitamins. Yeah, exactly, Iron Spirit. Exactly that. You know, people love to attack the vegans for being nutrient deficient or whatever, but actually they did the study on B12 deficiency and they found that actually more meat eaters were deficient. So it's just one of these industry myths, industry lies that they just love to brainwash the public. Stinson saying, eat from the basic 4 food group: dairy, grains, fruits and vegetables, meats and poultry. Don't need dairy, you don't need meats and poultry. But fruits, vegetables, grains, they're all good. And no, my jacket does not have, where did you put? Duck feathers. There are no duck feathers in this jacket. I'm not that stupid. I am vegan. I don't support animals being exploited for my clothes, for my food, for anything. Spicy Much said, to be fair, it is strange, as I had a vegan friend due to his parents. We took him to McDonald's and he wanted to try a burger. He threw up everywhere, it wasn't pleasant. I mean, that's interesting that he tried the burger, but throwing up everywhere, yeah. Show your shoes. Rishi Rish. You're not one of those people that have feet fetish, are you? You're just wanting to see my feet. I'm speaking up for the animals as much as people want to divert the topic. Speak up for the animals. You don't need to hurt them. You don't need to oppress them, exploit them, chop their heads off. You can just be a kind person. Just be a kind person. So I'm just going to put another poll into the chat. So this is for people because I know there are people in this chat that are being open and want to know more. I just want to put a sense check on the audience. So please do vote on the poll. So security's still keeping an eye. It's gone quiet. You know, this is generally what happens when activists are outside facilities. You know, they'll phone around, they'll call up the trucks, they'll divert the trucks, they'll hold them somewhere. You know, it's just a complete time waste. But also, like, this costs the slaughterhouse money. They have to employ security to be there, especially when activists are here. It actually costs them further call-out fees. So just by one person standing here with a camera is actually costing this industry money. So just scrolling through the chat if there's any questions. So yeah, so Stacey, you thought you're doing enough in the veggie and animal lover, shocked to see the reality of the dairy and the egg industries. So yeah, that's like most people, you know, who maybe start as a vegetarian and you think, oh, that's all right, I don't eat meat. But then you realize that the dairy industry and the egg industry is the meat industry. In the dairy industry, dairy cows at about 3 years old are taken to a slaughterhouse and bolt gun to the head, have their throat sliced open and sold for cheap meat for things like cheeseburgers. That's the dairy industry. And then in the egg industry, if we're talking about obviously egg laying hens that are producing eggs, when those eggs hatch, if they are male, they are killed on their first day of life. They are killed on their first day of life. Keeping an eye on this car. Because obviously male chicks are no use to the egg industry. You know, they won't lay eggs, so they're just seen as a waste product. And they are basically put through onto a massive conveyor belt. And you can go and watch videos of this to, you know, see what I'm talking about. They put these, the eggshells and the male chicks on a conveyor belt and they churn them into a massive macerator, like a huge blender, which basically kills these male chicks on their first day of life. And that's the egg industry. But then obviously the hens that are laying those eggs, because they're bred to produce, you know, dozens of times more eggs than they would do naturally, their bodies just become totally what the industry will call spent. They become totally exhausted, they can't even stand up, and they're often killed at about a year and a half old. So the egg industries and the dairy industries are both the same as the meat industry, which people don't realise. So at the moment we've got 21 votes and a majority of yeses for people being vegan. So as we know, like in the comments, you get a lot of trolls and people that are very much against it. But I know there's people that, you know, sit there and they don't necessarily comment, and they're just like there to listen and to learn. And that's exactly what we want to do, is to educate those people that are curious. Stace, but yeah, watch some James Aspie and Joey Carbstrong videos. They really made me question things. So yeah, if you don't already know these people, but yeah, Joey Carbstrong, he's a relentless animal rights activist. He, you know, fights for the animals in various ways, whether it's street outreach or more recently his investigations. You can see investigation he did on a turkey farm, Kelly Bronze Turkeys, back in December. You can look at the documentaries he's done inside of pig gas chambers. So yeah, highly recommend you checking out Joey Carbstrong's videos. I realise I'm still a bit further up in the site. I've just dropped to the bottom of the chat now, as I realised I was quite far back. So 23 votes, still about 50-50 at the moment. Yeah, so Chip saying, don't treat animals like objects, be smart, be vegan. And that's just, it's very simple, isn't it? We just shouldn't look at animals in a way to, how can we oppress them? How can we use them? Animals are here with us, not for us. They're here to live out their own lives. Joanna, these hellholes hate being exposed. They will give a fuck for being there. Yeah, so exactly, Joanna. So that's why we've got dozens of activists all around the country at slaughterhouses today, because we need the pressure. You know, these industries, we know they panic. We know they have to do silly little things. You know, I'll show you this as well, which happened. So because of activists, they had to paint this, this white line to try and stop activists from going onto their facility. Like, they're that triggered that they had to pay someone to come and paint a white line on their forecourt. Like, how triggered could you be? Like, just money being spent. As you can see, security's still there, keeping an eye. And just in the background, you've got forklifts going on, taking potentially crates and pallets and potentially animals' bodies into the trucks that will take them away. Someone just, Turbo Bunch, just put 52% isn't a majority. Oh, I assume you mean no. Well, it was 52% yes, so claiming that one. Yeah, and thanks Laura, Broccoli Babe, Ella, thanks for being on the live stream. Really appreciate you, you know, answering questions and stuff. It's, yeah, it's always supportive seeing the vegans in the chat, and Joanna as well. And fact is, they painted these white lines in other ABP sites as well. So some poor guys had to come out to a slaughterhouse to paint a white line in the middle of nowhere, and to come to these facilities and just smell these awful smells of the animals' dead bodies, being through this torture of just coming here to paint a white line just because people are scared. It's putting pressure on these industries. So yeah, that chip, guys, put the link again. Please do check out that link. 3 minutes out of your life to learn about what you support. So the link is also in the video description, but Chip's just put it in the chat. 3minutes.wtf, 3minutes.wtf. You can go and check it out and go and learn exactly what happens in these industries. If you don't want to take my word for it, go and watch that video. It's completely free to watch. Once you screech no signage markings when they actually do it, you mock it. Yeah, I mean, it's just hilarious though, isn't it? It is hilarious that they put a white line there. But the other thing that you'll notice, and I'll flip the camera around as well, like, at no point here does this say what this facility is. There is nowhere that tells you, the public, you the consumer, that this is actually a slaughterhouse. And that's why we as activists have to be here to do a bit of advertisement for them, because you find it strange, don't you know, as a business, you don't want to advertise what you're doing. You ever sort of question that and think, yeah, that's a bit strange. They don't put what your business is on the outside. They just put ABP. You know, they don't put a slaughterhouse here. And in a similar vein, like, they don't like people coming to their business. You know, it's a bit strange. Every other business would be, you know, they'd love people to come to their front doors. You know, if you look at, you know, strawberry farms and strawberry fields, they'd love people to go into their fields, pick the strawberries, pay for their products. Here, you can't even go past a white line without security being on you. Yes, Turbo Munch, I am fully aware of what the line is. Thank you for clarifying. So no peace. So yes, so this is an abattoir. This is a slaughterhouse. This is a slaughterhouse for sheep, for lambs. This is basically where these baby animals are taken at the end of their lives, which is just 6 months old. So you look out and you're driving around the countryside, you see, you know, sheep in the fields, but 6 months old, they'll be put onto trailers and trucks, and they'll be taken inside these facilities, and they'll have their necks sliced open, hung up by their legs, and then have their heads chopped off, and they'll be packaged up and then put into a supermarket. All because people demand these products, and it's as simple as that. I wouldn't want to go in there, it's full of blood and guts. Yeah, exactly, it's disgusting. No one should want to go in there. So Spicy Munch, you said, I've just watched that video, I feel sick, that's brutal. I mean, thank you so much for actually watching that video. You know, we need more people like you that will actually go and do that. And Spicy Much, like, I'm on Instagram, Alex Activism. If you have any questions, please do just drop me a DM and say, you know, I watched the video today, can we talk about it? Because what we do in street outreach, when we show people on the streets that footage, we would then have a conversation afterwards just to talk about, you know, just to clarify what you've seen and the fact that, you know, this isn't the edge cases or odd cases. This is normal. This is standard practice, and this is like the best of the best. Your red tractor approved, your RSPCA assured, or your high welfare. That's what happens in that video. The baby boy chicks, yeah, exactly. So that's what I was explaining a little bit earlier about the egg industry. The male chicks are seen as worthless, as pointless to the egg industry. So at a day old, they're put into a massive macerator or a blender and blended alive at 1 day old. But thank you so much, Spicy Much, for watching that video and seeing the reality. And how does it make you feel now, Spicy Much? How does it make you feel now? Does it, because, you know, when I watched something like this for the first time, it totally changed my life. It took me a while to sort of digest everything I had seen and realized, oh my God, what am I paying for? I have to make a change. I don't want to support these industries anymore, because that's what these industries rely on. It's all, you know, consumer and demand. We vote with our money. So yeah, proper welfare for animals would mean not killing them. Yeah, exactly, Iron Spirit, exactly that. There is no, and that's because people kind of believe this humane lie, oh, they're killed humanely. There is no humane way to take the life of an animal. In the same way, there is no humane way to kill another human that doesn't want to die, may I add. So No Pete said, are they not dead at the point of being hung by the legs all the time? I saw something about chickens still being alive on the conveyor belt. Yeah, exactly. So unfortunately, No Peace. What happens is the sheep will be based, and you can see investigations that sort of walk you through this. The sheep will go through these various, it's almost like a maze, a metal chambered maze inside, and they'll be basically put through and condensed down into like a funnel, and then one by one they will sort of hang them up by their legs. Some slaughterhouses obviously will attempt to stun them. They will get these electrical prongs and prong them to the heads on the sides, or prong them down the back of their necks in the attempt to stun them, hang them up by their legs, and then slice their throats. But like you've just mentioned about the chicken still being alive, this happens with sheep, it happens with cows, it happens everywhere, that these animals are still conscious when they're hung up by their legs, and then they have their throats sliced open. I'm just going to close the poll now. So thank you for all the people that voted yes to being vegan. So Spicy Much, but yeah, not gonna lie, it makes me feel a little different. So this is the thing. So seeing what you've just seen, Spicy Much, and now knowing what you know, that you don't have to support these industries. You can be happy and healthy on a plant-based diet. You don't have to exploit animals for food, for clothing, for entertainment. Knowing what you know, now's the time of where you would take action. Now's the time where you actually think, right, I'm not gonna be a part of this. Because there's, you know, millions of vegans around the world have all done the same thing, saying, I'm not going to be a part of this industry. And that's why society is changing. And we need more and more people to watch these videos, take a stand, be confident, and say, all right, I'm going to be vegan. I'm going to change for the animals. So I am Spirit33, so you should sell QR code stickers that link to the video. I can stick them around for people to scan. So where are you based, I Am Spirit? So we actually have We the Free stickers, which have the 3-minute movie link on them. I don't know, Chip, are you still in the chat? If you are, maybe you could help advise where they could get some of those QR code stickers from. Because yeah, they do exist. And I'll tell you what, I Am Spirit, if you want to message me on Instagram, Alex Activism, message me on Instagram and I'll try and sort out some QR code stickers for you, because they are around, they do exist, and they're a brilliant thing to do to get people to watch. So Spicy Much say, now Ryan, go watch that video. You won't want to eat bacon after you see them smashing them against. Yes, exactly, Spicy Much. So, you know, just from seeing that comment, I can see that your mindset's already changed. And now you're already speaking up for the animals. And that's the first step. It's making that change and being right, I'm not going to kill these animals anymore. I'm not going to support them. Instead, I'm going to do something meaningful, and I'm going to stand up for these animals, and I'm going to fight for them, and I'm going to speak up for their injustice. Yeah, no peace, exactly. There is no peaceful way that an animal can be killed in these facilities. And like I'd say, go and watch that 3-minute movie challenge and you can see exactly what happens to them. But it's the most stress, fear, enduring place that I could think of on the planet. Thanks, Joanna, for still being in the chat as well. Really appreciate that. But yeah, Iron Spirit, feel free to drop me a message, and yeah, we'll get some stickers sorted out. So No Peace said, I have a question though. What happens if we did stop killing animals for food? What would be a solution to overpopulation? So this is, it's an interesting point, No Peace, because I hear the both opposite ends of the spectrum when people ask that question. It's either, what are you going to do with all the animals because they're running riot and they're overpopulating, or they're going to go extinct. They're the sort of the two things that I get asked, because it's apparently one way or the other. But the fact is that obviously these animals, 92 billion land animals, are specifically bred to then be killed. So they're breeding and breeding and breeding because people are demanding and demanding. So what would happen over time is that as the demand for that decreases, the supply decreases. If you know supply and demand, that's how it works. So the less people that want to, buy these products, the less they're going to breed into society, and those numbers over time will naturally decline. But animals can survive in the wild, even though these animals have been bred and domesticated. But we also have animal sanctuaries, ethical animal sanctuaries, that are genuinely here just to support the animals that have unfortunately been subject to these industries. They're here to rescue and look after them. So in summary, like, the breeding of these animals declines, and there are spaces for remaining populations to go. But the ethical question you have to ask yourself, is it ethical to breed someone just to kill them as a baby? Spicy Much saying, confuses me how the people that work there just have no remorse, I would say. Yeah, Spicy Much, it baffles me that how anyone could work there. But we know from these industries that firstly, the turnover of slaughterhouse workers is so high, and who can blame them? They go in, they have to see animals being killed and kill the animals yourself every single day. That takes its toll. But we also know that slaughterhouse workers are highly subject to things like PTSD, mental health issues, because of seeing the violence and the blood. Obviously that's not an enjoyable experience. So these facilities shouldn't exist for humans, for animals, for anyone. Thanks, No Peace, and yeah, appreciate your questions. Again, more people like you, No Peace, that are asking, genuine questions, are respectful, and listen to the answers as well. And again, this is just me, this is just my opinions. Well, a lot of it is facts, but this is one person outside a slaughterhouse. But go and watch videos online, watch Dominion, go and watch that documentary, see it for yourself if you don't want to listen to me talking through all the reality and the facts. So Iron Spirit said, could you have a girlfriend that eats meat and won't change? So it's a very interesting question that you've asked. So what I would say is, if that person, your partner, is a compassionate and kind person, obviously the best thing to do is to explain to them the reality of what happens to animals, but sit down and watch Dominion with them. And then what would happen is that person would either then, sort of understand what happens to animals, have some compassion, and then decide, yeah, this is totally wrong, I agree with you. Or they might need a little bit more time, and then don't necessarily give up the effort straight away. Give them resources, find out what might resonate with them. But after a while, if they still won't change, if they've seen everything that happens to animals, then that's obviously up to you as an individual. But I would want to spend you know, my life with someone that is compassionate and kind and not would want to support those industries to animals, that knowing what happens. Because that's what happened to me. You know, I was a meat eater and my partner was vegan, and then I watched Dominion, and then I realized, oh yeah, this is wrong. So then I became vegan. So are we expecting to see animals being delivered today? So yes, Iron Spirit, there was 2 trucks, one truck that had gone in just as I was arriving, and there was another 1 or 2 trucks already inside the facility. So they have these deliveries very early, especially on a Friday, you know, 6:30, 7 a.m. the trucks come in. But we know that when activists are outside, they sometimes play these silly games and they'll hold trucks down the road or send them elsewhere. So, you know, I will be here to document the animals as they come through, and you know, they're still expecting deliveries of animals because this process doesn't stop. There's animals taken in, you know, every single day. So yeah, as soon as any trucks come past, I will be showing you the reality. And maybe it's a good time to just show the audience as well what these trucks look like and what's inside of them. So inside these trucks, these are the victims. They are 4, 5 or 6 months old. They are baby lambs trapped inside of these trailers, big double deckers or small grey trailers. You know, look into their eyes. How do you feel about that when you see that? That they'll go into these facilities, be strung up by their legs and have their throat sliced open. So XVVAR, Alex, how's it going? Thanks for being in the chat. Thanks for commenting. I remember when you went to the fishermen and they almost started fighting you. Yeah, yes, I remember you from that comments as well. Yeah, that was an interesting one. I did a live stream outside a fishing port and just decided to try and speak to some of the people that are off of a seemingly drunk fishing trip, that, you know, they've gone off the day drinking and then they come off a bit, whoa. And then, yeah, I decided to confront them, just tried to give them a leaflet and just say, you know, why are you killing fish? And there is a video on my Instagram and TikTok if you're on there, but you can go and watch what happens. But, you know, he basically is just saying that he wanted to knock me out, he wanted to punch me, he wanted to fight me. Annoyingly, as on the live stream, I stepped to the side when he swung for me. Obviously ducked because I am very agile, and yeah, his friend had to come over and take him away. So if you want to watch that video, it's on my Instagram and on my TikTok and probably on YouTube as well. But yeah, it's a fisherman that basically tries to punch me because I'm asking him why he's killing fish. Yeah, please post that. So no peace, yeah, it's on my, it'll be on my shorts on my channel, it'll be on my shorts on YouTube. But it's just, it starts with a guy saying, I want to knock you out, basically. So thanks for everyone that's just joined the chat, and there's a lot of new people that have now joined, as well as the people that are still going strong in the comments. Thank you for being here. So George, so are you the first person to bring up the lion today? Should have a little bell when the lion buzzer goes off. How do I feel about when a lion kills a gazelle? I mean, it's not very nice to see. But you, George, are you a lion? Are you a lion? You know, this is all about veganism. This is all about the injustice that we cause to animals as humans. This is us as humans breeding animals into society for food, for clothing, for sports entertainment, and then exploiting them, abusing them, causing them suffering, and then ultimately sending them to places like this, sending them to a slaughterhouse to have their heads chopped off. And there's also, you know, if you want to go down the line debate even more, like there's a lot of things that lions do that we wouldn't deem acceptable, you know, raping each other, killing our young. You know, this is things that happen naturally in the wild, but why would you look at a lion and go, oh, well, they kill a gazelle, so that must mean it's all right for us to do, when they don't adhere to anything else in society? Thank you very much, No Peace. Yeah, appreciate you being here. And again, like other people in this chat, please drop me a message on Instagram if you want to talk further. And no peace. So, I don't know, are you vegan? Are you non-vegan? And after, being in the chat this morning, how are you feeling at the moment? And have you watched the 3-minute video that's in the video description? Another van just pulling in. Another one coming in. So these are other delivery vans that are all turning up. So obviously these facilities have everything that they would need to, in a killing factory. Saw a knife sharpening van come in once. They have people that take deliveries. So Spicy Much George, no offense pal, that sounds daft. It's kind of natural from time to time. Yeah, exactly Spicy Much. See, you get it. You get it, Spicy Much. Humans apparently taste like pork, by the way, we don't eat each other. Yeah, interesting, the Wandering Mason, isn't it? Yeah. So 3 Light Travis saying, you can be a vegan and I will respect it, but respect me also, I don't go around harassing you. So the unfortunate situation there is that if you're supporting these industries, then you're not respecting the animals. And we have a duty to speak up for those animals. We have a duty to stand up and actually call out what you're doing, because what the actions that you're doing, whether you're doing them directly or indirectly, knowingly or non-knowingly, your actions have consequences to those animals that are being sent and having their heads chopped off. And I also wouldn't agree necessarily that, vegans always go around harassing people. Like, I'm just stood outside with a camera talking to, you on the live stream, anyone that's walked past, and just, showing people what happens inside these places. I wouldn't call that harassment. If it was harassment, I'd probably be in the back of a police van, wouldn't you agree? XVVAR, I normally try debating vegans, but I kind of respect Alec. Now, I appreciate you being here. And if you do ever want to talk on Instagram or whatever, please do drop me a message. But thank you for being here, and maybe this is the realization that actually you can't debate vegans anymore, and you have to join them and be kind and be compassionate. Wandering Mason, Carnage take supplements too. Yeah, Carnage take supplements too. It's one of those things like, do you think multivitamins and all like medicine shops and all that is just for vegans? Obviously not. And the fact that animals are fed supplementation into their feed, antibiotics as well. So people that are consuming animals are also consuming those supplements that they're supposedly against. So, come to the bottom. Oh, no peace. So, I am vegan, yes. This has made me feel hopeful knowing we have people like you who are great ambassadors for the community. I mean, thank you so much, No Peace, for being here. The reason we do these live streams is obviously to raise awareness, to educate, to expose. But we also need people like you, No Peace, in the comment sections that are helping support these videos, push these videos out. So, please do share this video around, share activist channels on social media, which you might be already, and if you ever want to chat and talk about activism, please do just drop me a DM on Instagram. So I'm Alex Activism. Yeah, please do and drop me a follow. But also, what would help as well, please do subscribe to my channel. Go and subscribe to this channel, and obviously I do a lot of live streams, sometimes outside slaughterhouses, sometimes outside other facilities, to do street outreach. So please do go and subscribe to this channel if you want to see some more content like this. So obviously I'm here to speak up for the animals today. There's a lot of people that want to divert the topic. This is purely about the animals. Alex, how do you feel about the fact that your people won't exist in the future? What do you mean by your people won't exist in the future? Do you mean vegans? You're saying vegans won't exist? If it is, it's the exact opposite. The world will be vegan, because the planet would have blown up otherwise. Well, there won't be any vegans left in the future. Why won't there be any vegans left in the future? Please explain this line of argument. I'm not too sure about that. Yeah, Wandering Mason. Interesting one. So, you know, as general things in these chats, please do keep the questions about animals or related to. Obviously, you know, we have questions about health, which I obviously don't want to talk too much about because this is about the ethics, but, you know, people have genuine concerns, so I'm happy to answer them. You know, obviously happy to answer any questions about slaughterhouses. Doesn't have to be about this specific facility. This could be questions about other slaughterhouses near you. You know, maybe you have questions about how animals are killed, how old animals are when they're killed, what happens on farms. Any questions like that, please do drop them into the chat. Yeah, this is a Q&A session. And for anyone that's just joined, obviously I am at a slaughterhouse in Dorset. So behind me here is a slaughterhouse that kills sheep, baby sheep. They are 4, 5, maybe 6 months old when they're taken inside this facility. They're basically dropped off down the back into a holding pen. Then they are processed into the facility. They are herded in. Often, you know, workers are kicking these sheep. They're punching these sheep. They're literally picking these sheep up and throwing them around. And then ultimately they go into the kill floor, where sometimes they'll attempt to stun the animals. So they'll get electric prongs in an attempt to stun them. And then they will hang them up by their legs, and then they will slice their throats open, and they will chop their heads off. Then the animals will be taken out and taken to basically like a packaging facility, and ultimately they'll end up on your supermarket shelves. So this is a direct consequence of people supporting this industry by consuming animal products. You know, if you're purchasing lamb products or any other animal product, this is exactly where your animals are taken to be killed. But the fact is, we don't need to do this. We don't need to exploit animals. We don't need to harm animals. We can just be kind and live with them. You know, animals aren't here for us. They're not for us at all. Who gives us the right to commodify and objectify animals? Yeah, thanks, No Peace. Spot on. Hey, Aaron, good to see you. Rashid, you go into the Pro Live channel. Are you live streaming today, Aaron? I don't know if anyone's at Guildford today. I think there might be a few people at Guildford. You might have seen, have you been on to any other streams, Project Livestream today, Aaron? I think Jake and John and Calvin might be live. Not sure if Mel and Steve have managed to sort themselves out yet. Yeah, and obviously loads of others. No, I'm off today, channel hopping, hopefully back next week. Yeah, I'm on Calvin's as well. Awesome, how's it going in the other rooms? What are the comments like? And yeah, what's the consensus? Yeah, they did. I think they got fairly close, but had some car trouble, which sucks. So Itadori, you do talk. So I'm not vegan, though I respect what you're doing. So, I mean, firstly, thanks for the comment and thanks for having that respect. And the question is, why are you not vegan then? You know, if you do respect, you know, what we're doing for animals, what is it that's stopping you from basically deciding to be kind and compassionate to these animals? What is it that's yeah, what is it that you need to know? In my video description, there's a link to 3minutes.wtf. Please go and check that out if you haven't already and go and see the reality for yourself. 102 years ago, wish you strength, mate, can't look at that awful place of suffering and death. Yeah, it's, I mean, you've summarized this place very well. It is literally a place of suffering and death. That's exactly what this facility is. This is a place where animals come to be killed, have their heads chopped off when they're just a baby. So Calvin's is very positive so far. Awesome, awesome. I'm currently being told to stand in the road in front of the trucks by security. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I was just showing people earlier. I can show the camera around again. Obviously the fact that they've painted these white lines to try and move activists obviously closer to the road. So, you know, they're not here for the safety of individuals at all. They just want to protect these places from not being exposed, basically. Oh, that comment just made me laugh. Alex, come to Lidl, let's have a scrap. Love that, love that. Yeah, I'll just go to Lidl. Yeah, see you there. That's so funny. Yeah, like Aaron's just said, you know, spam chats, welcome the comments. This is a Q&A, but you know, if you're just going to spam it with the same things, you'll get timed out. And yeah, Aaron, is Calvin with Jake and John? Are they all the same down to there? Non-vegans wanting violence, shocker. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the first comment from whoever this person is as well. Just straight in with let's fight. Like, kind of shows you, you know, are they in this industry? Because why are they so triggered? Why are they so angry about someone here just speaking up for animals? Yeah, that's what happens, Rishi. That's what happens. The mods take over. You'll get blocked. Yeah, it's with Jake and John. Awesome. Caveman mentality. It really is. I love Lidl as well, just of all places. Just let's go to Lidl and scrap. Rishi, leave Alex alone or come to Lidl if you got a problem. Yes, a Bing Bing, you're going to take on Rishi now. This is interesting. I think this live stream's going to take a turn into a boxing fight. Sponsored by Lidl. So, a Bing Bing, are you, have you been in this chat much? Have you been on any live streams today and seen anyone else outside slaughterhouses? I get depressed easy regarding animals in the world. I'm Spirit. Yeah, I feel you. I mean, it is so depressing, you know. 92 billion land animals being killed every year, trillions of fish, animals being exploited for their clothes, for their fur, for their wool, for their skin. Animals that are used in the entertainment sector, so horse racing. Horse dies every other day in the UK from horse racing. Greyhounds, a greyhound died once every 3 days on tracks alone in 2024. You know, all these things that are just out there to just exploit animals in any way possible. Yes, spicy much. Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, Bing Bing, sickening. Whoever's doing this needs to meet me outside Lidl. So a Bing Bing, I guess the question for you then, a Bing, is it a Bing Bing? Oh no, a Bing Bling, a Bing Bling. Are you vegan? That's the question that I'd have for you, because like you say, I agree with you. It is sickening, it's absolutely horrifying. You know, taking animals as babies into slaughterhouses, into gas chambers, having their heads chopped off. It is absolutely sickening. But the issue is that this is all funded and supported by people that are consuming animal products and paying for animals, you know, their skin, their fur, and for entertainment. So yeah, I'm saying, if your ethics is purely based on minimizing suffering sentience, would you eat roadkill or the meat of an animal that died of natural causes? So my ethics isn't based on minimizing suffering. My ethics is placed purely, that's a hard PP, placed purely on a total abolition approach. We shouldn't reduce suffering, we should end suffering. We should end all forms of animal exploitation. So would I eat roadkill? Absolutely not, because that's that mentality of how can I benefit from that animal? You know, I'm not gonna go and pick up a dead body and eat it. That's not very respectful. So, you know, the ethics of respect and compassion. So, elite bloodline, what you're up to, protesting animal rights. So yes, so I'm outside a slaughterhouse today, bearing witness to sheep that are coming in on trucks and trailers, being sent inside this facility. These sheep are about 6 months old, sometimes 4 months old, as young as that. They'll be taken in on trailers and sent to the back of this facility. They'll be unloaded into a holding pen. They'll then be funneled in, punched around, kicked around into the kill floor, where they'll be hung up by their legs and have their throat sliced open. So activists like me are all around the country today and all around the world, all as part of Project Livestream. And we're here to expose these industries and sort of educate the public and sort of spread the awareness of what happens to these animals in these industries. So what obviously we've got in my in this video live description, you'll see a link to 3minutes.wtf, and I'd highly urge everyone to go and click that link and go and watch it, copy and paste it into your browser if need be, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about in just 3 minutes. It's obviously a break at the moment, all the workers are coming out. Just think how awful, you know, what you'd see even if just a couple of minutes of walking inside these facilities. He's not wrong. We do need to draw back on industrial abuse that affects us all in all kinds of ways. Yeah, I mean, let's end all exploitation. So Iron Spirit, you said, what's your thoughts on the meat products placed in the veggie products section in supermarkets, like a meat burger placed by someone in the corn section? Yeah, it's an interesting one, which obviously supermarkets take very different approaches with. I think M&S recently, they put like the vegan products right next to the meat products, they mix them into the shelves, where in other supermarkets you have maybe like the free from sections. Is that a truck coming? So it looks like oh no, it's a pallets truck just coming in. But yeah, I guess my thoughts are, like, I'd much prefer just the vegan products, you know, separate and clearly labelled, because obviously corn, some of their products, corn used to be vegan. So there's a truck now. Oh no, it's another refrigeration truck. So obviously these two big trucks that are just coming in now, obviously they're to take the dead bodies away. Be good if a truck came now, because there's a nice backlog of trucks going on. But yeah, just to finish that answer about the corn section, yeah, corn products used to be vegan, and then they actually started adding things like egg into their products. So yeah, avoid corn, go for purely plant-based products, vegan products. There's so much out there. And yeah, thanks Aaron for replying to the comments. There's quite a few coming through. And Broccoli Babe, thanks for still being here. Oh, sorry, Iron Spirit. I mean how someone has purposely put meat products in with the veggie food. Oh, I see, because people get triggered. I mean, sometimes I'm like, did people genuinely make that decision change? Did they have, you know, an animal product in their hand, walked down, went to the freezer and thought, oh, I can just get vegan products instead? That's what I'd like to believe. I like to believe that people actually made that compassionate choice and decided to change. But yeah, people are just thinking they're funny, thinking that they're just hilarious people by triggering, you know, non-meat eaters and vegans. Here comes the shit truck. So this truck that's just coming down the road now, they're either literally the trucks for feces and blood, or they are trucks basically for the animals' body parts, the hides of them. Just going to flip that camera around. It's getting very busy in here now. So the fact that there's so many refrigeration trucks now, you know, it makes me think that there's probably more animals on their way. But as we know, there was a lot of trucks in this morning before I arrived, so these are often to take the animal body parts away. Yeah, Soitan man, stun killing goes wrong all the time. Yeah, exactly that, exactly that. Yeah, I mean, you can look at so many investigations. You can go onto, if you go onto Animal Aid's website as well, you can see a map of investigations in the UK, and you'll see exactly what happens inside these facilities. You'll see, you know, sheep that are improperly stunned. They try and prong them by their necks, and instead the workers sort of punch them and kick them and strap them up by their legs while they're still conscious. And same with cows. They'll try and bolt gun them to the head. You know, I've seen a lot of people or workers, let's say, like try and stun the animals 3, 4, 5 times, trying to get that bolt gun to stun them, and it doesn't render the animal unconscious at all. Those animals are then having basically their heads chopped off while still fully conscious. So this will be the shit truck. Category 2, not for animal consumption. Oh, that fucking stinks. Oh. That fucking stinks. Yeah, it's definitely a shit truck. So all of the blood, the guts, they'll all end up on that trailer. It's fucking disgusting. Sorry, I've missed a lot of comments in the chat, but thanks, Aaron, for keeping the conversations going. We've got Patrick. Animals were made for consumption. No, they weren't. Funnily enough, animals are just like us. You know, we're here on our own accord. We can, you know, we're not here for anyone. We are here to live out our lives, hopefully in peace. But unfortunately, that's something that humans prevent animals from doing. And it's a really sad thing to hear when you hear the fact that we don't allow animals to grow old. We don't allow animals to grow old. You know, these animals are killed at a fraction of their lifespan. These animals that, you know, let's take sheep, for example. They're killed at 6 months old. They can live to 10, 12, sometimes 15 years. Cows, for example, they're killed 1 or 2 years old for the beef industry, between 3 and 5 years old in the dairy industry. Cows can live till over 20 years old. Chickens who are killed at 42 days old. Chickens that are killed at 42 days old, or broiler chickens, what they're known as, yeah, they can live to over 10 years old. So, onism, what is your answer? You seem to know everything. Don't know if you're talking to the Soytan Man, Broccoli Babe, or me, but I mean, there isn't a reason to, well, the way you seem to know everything, but it's just knowing basic decency and knowing what happens to animals. How was that? Yeah, knowing what we do to animals is wrong. You don't need to know every fact and statistic under the sun. You just need to know that what we do to animals is wrong. And the fact that we shouldn't exploit them and we shouldn't support these industries. So when it's as simple as that, any argument, any question, you just have to look at the ethics of it. Sometimes put the meat arguments back. Yeah, and it's, if anything, like also just to add on that, Iron Spirit, like when people put things out of frozen into like the fridge or fridge into the frozen, like you're disrespecting that body even more, because now you've basically made that product, you can't sell it now because the product is ruined. So yeah, it's just a total waste. Self-portrait from Patrick. Appreciate you being in the chat spicy much today. I'm so glad that you've joined this stream and you watched the 3-minute movie challenge. You know, I think that's absolutely brilliant and well done for being here. Humans have raised animals for tens of thousands of years. So do you think we should still act in the way that we did tens of thousands of years ago? Do you think we should all be cavemen, you know, raping each other, having no sort of civil obedience? Do you think we should just behave like cavemen? Yeah, exactly, Broccoli Babe. You know, and in even more recent times, like women's rights, slavery, the Holocaust, anything, you know, do you think society, we should be evolving in forwards, or do you really want to go back to how we were? Rishi, you know, you'll just get modded out again. Modded out? Timed out. Timed out by a mod. You get modded. So, Steve, so this is a slaughterhouse in Dorset in the UK, so southwest of the UK. And this is a sheep slaughterhouse where they take in baby lambs about 4 to 6 months old, and they chop their heads off inside, all because people buy lamb products. So we're here to expose the reality and show you the victims of who goes in on these trucks. And what I can do is just show you from these trucks exactly who were on the inside. So these are sheep that were taking in on these trailers before. Like, look into their eyes. How does that actually make you feel? That these animals have had to suffer and be killed. And, you know, we've cows as well. These poor young cows. Their life just taken from them, exploited, purely because of people's choices that they make, all because people aren't vegan. Spicy Much. Love how there's so many people trying to get copy about it and they don't have the balls to watch the video. So what Spicy Much is talking about, in this video description, there's a link to the 3-minute video, 3minutes.wtf. You can go to the video description, click the link or copy and paste it into your browser. It's completely free to watch. And you can go and see exactly what happens to animals in these facilities and in these industries. You can go and see the truth for yourself, and then let's have a discussion like Spicy Much has done. You know, she's gone away, watched the 3-minute movie and come back into the chat and has realized, no, you're absolutely right. What we do to animals is horrible. And then make the decision that you obviously don't want to be a part of it. So just being vegan simply means that you don't want to support these industries. Being vegan is just synonymous with being kind and respectful. So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to be kind and respectful to animals, or do you want to be the person that is directly responsible for causing these animals torture and death? Is that what you want to be? That type of person? So WPTV 100, so you said go inside and show us. Obviously I can't go inside and show you, but what we can do is just obviously tell you to go and watch Dominion, or go and watch that link in my video description, 3minutes.wtf. If you want to see what happens inside, go and click that link, 3minutes.wtf. So in Dorset, UK. I find people agree with us but are not willing to change. Yeah, I see that a lot, I Am Spirit. People think, you know, I get what you're saying, but they don't change. And I think the reason for that is that people don't fully understand. You know, a lot of people just see veganism as a diet and they think, well, you know, it's not enough for me to change. But actually just being vegan is saying, I don't want to exploit animals for anything. I don't want to exploit them for food, for clothes, for entertainment. I just don't want to exploit animals at all. And when people really understand that, and when they see the footage, like the 3minutes.wtf in the video description, when people see that, that's when people make the change. And that is what would turn people enough to making that change. Like people in this chat today, like Spicy Much. So Steve said, have you ever eaten meat? So I did, obviously used to eat animal products. Sadly, I wasn't born vegan, as much as I wish, you know, that I was. Obviously, I think it was about just over 5 years ago, I watched a documentary called Dominion. No, it wasn't Dominion, Earthlings. It's very similar to Dominion. And I saw the atrocities of what happens to animals, you know, for food, for entertainment, for clothes. And I decided to make that change, to be compassionate. And, you know, it's very simple. It's very simple. You know, you've got Google out there and, you know, AI, ChatGPT, you can, you know, any questions that you have, you can just ask it there. If you've got things about, oh, what food do I buy? What clothes do I buy? You can just ask, you know, there's resources out there. So there's another thing called Challenge 22 where you can get mentor support. It's completely free. You could check that out as well. Right. So I've just scrolled back to the bottom of the chat. So apologies if I've missed any of the comments. So Yem6, she'll get that buzzer, little bell. We've had the lion bell. It's time to ring the plants have feelings bell. So why draw the line? Animals feeling pain, but not plants. So plants don't feel pain. They don't have pain receptors, they don't have sentience, they don't have brains or central nervous systems. Plants cannot feel pain. And even if they even if they could, that is still an excuse for being vegan, because the animal agriculture industry obviously kills a lot more crops anyway. So they're both arguments for veganism, your claim about plants. So I agree. I just heard Activism say he grounds it in ending animal suffering. He can't, his mere existence causes animal suffering. So firstly, like, I'm not just focusing on suffering, I'm talking about all exploitation of animals. Even if an animal isn't being abused, we shouldn't be using it as a commodity. But secondly, this is about intentional and unintentional actions, right? You know, we have as a mere existence, things can happen, accidents can happen. It's not a perfect world, it's not a vegan world. You know, if I'm walking down the street and I accidentally step on an insect, that wasn't intentional. And it's really sad when that happens. But for people that are specifically paying for animal products that are killed, that is a direct decision. And that is something that we as consumers, we as the public, have the power to change. It's all about the purpose of your action. So are you exploiting animals on purpose? And that's the decision that you need to make. It's not about suffering. Obviously, I talk about suffering and abuse because, you know, these are cases that people can relate to. What happens inside those slaughterhouses, anyone would suffer going into there. But not only do you suffer, you get punched, you get abused, and you get killed. Even if these places you didn't suffer in it, doesn't make them okay. They should be abolished because you're taking the life of someone. So you said every time you eat an additional meal, you're increasing the suffering of an animal. So should you eat a low-calorie diet at the minute? No, not at all. Just eat a plant-based diet. Just eat a plant-based diet. You can get all the calories you need on a plant-based diet. Just stop exploiting animals. Like it says, if you really cared, it's very simple just to stop supporting these industries. Because right now, I can't just tell if you're just being a troll, just giving up the same silly arguments. So K14 Music, you're saying about seasoned chicken is banging. So did you know that chickens are about 42 days old, 6 weeks old? They're taken in on crates into CO2 gas chambers where they're lowered down. They get gassed to death, they get burnt from their insides and they suffocate to death. Their eyes burn, their lungs burn. 42 days old, how do you feel about that? So yeah, thanks for that. How do you feel about tons of insects that die in crops? So obviously crop death is just another thing that is again an argument for veganism. We can't, you know, in the way that systems are set up, there may be indirect deaths to insects in fields. But firstly, whatever you've probably seen is just totally out of proportion. But secondly, they're killed in an even greater scale because of animal agriculture. All the crops, or the majority of crops that are produced are then fed to animals that people then consume. Yeah, exactly, Aaron. So, you know, this channel is about animals, how we exploit them and what we do to them. You know, this is a Q&A session on what happens in slaughterhouses, what happens to animals, what people eat, anything on the topic of how we exploit animals. Jim Smith, stop this vegan. What do you mean, stop this vegan? And even if you did, I don't know, I'll put a poll in the chat actually. Just curious to see. Activists on YouTube today. So, just going to curious to see anyone in the chat right now. Ooh, let's move that over. So, because this is part of Project Livestream, so this is something that is basically where we've got activists all over the country and all over the world outside animal slaughterhouses today and other facilities and sites. I'm just curious, if you stumbled across this channel and you were, you know, swiping through shorts or whatever, have you seen other activists also on YouTube today? And if you have, please put in the comments what activist you saw, what channel you saw. You know, was it Mel and Steve? Was it Calvin and Multitaskers? Was it Game Vegan John Palmer? Was it John ARA? Was it Amy? Was it Kane? Sounds like a truck. So yeah, if you're voting yes, please put in the comments what activists or what channel you also saw today as you were going through YouTube. Just curious to see how much you know, the algorithm is putting these videos out to people. Bro looks malnourished. Again, like, people just love to just target people. Do I really look that malnourished? Charming. Absolutely charming. But I have, you know, I'm very fit and healthy. What age did you realise you didn't like chicken? So I guess there's two parts to this answer. Part one, 5 years ago I watched Earthlings and decided that I didn't want to be part of this exploitation anymore. So I didn't want to exploit chickens. But what age you realised you didn't like chicken? So obviously, yeah, like, this is just the fact that people don't necessarily go vegan because of taste. You know, people go vegan because they're against the injustice. And that's why a lot of plant-based products mimic or mock the taste of meat products. You know, you've got vegan chicken and vegan sausages. The reason why they're so similar is because people liked the taste. But the fact is that taste is not a justification. So instead, we choose the compassionate option and still get the same taste. Hopefully that answers your question. It's Des, have I been muted or something? No, I don't think so. Don't think so. It's Des, you said, I think he looks fine. Can't tell if that's sarcasm, it's Des, but sure. So, just scrolling up to your other comments, I'm saying that eating less crops is less crop deaths. So, but this is the thing, like, the numbers are blown totally out of proportion. Totally out of proportion, and there is no direct, you know, one-to-one relation of one plant equals one animal, whereas when you're eating animals, that's the truth. So you eat a plant-based diet, you're automatically taking away those crop deaths that would have been caused for you, as well as the animal themselves. It's always hard sometimes to tell sarcasm on a chat because you can't see emotions. So what I can just do, so thanks for voting on the poll. Hopefully the activists you've seen on YouTube in other areas today have been interesting, but I'll close the poll for now. So what I'm going to do is just spin it around so you can see the facility again. So we are at a slaughterhouse in Dorset. This is a slaughterhouse that kills sheep, so baby lambs. Thanks, Rafael, for being in the chat. I don't know if I've pronounced that properly. So yeah, this is a slaughterhouse that takes on baby lambs, and they'll be taken to the rear of this facility. See security still keeping an eye. And then they'll be funneled into basically the killing floor, where these animals will have their legs strung up, and then they'll have their necks sliced open. And this is all because of people paying for these animal products. And for anyone that's just recently joined, again, I'll show you these. So trucks will be coming into this site. These are the victims that are on the trucks that go into these facilities. And the question is, can you really look at these animals in the eyes and want to continue paying for them to have their heads chopped off? Can you really say that morally and ethically? And cows as well. You look into these animals' eyes, you know, you realize they are someone. They're not something, they're not an object. So Rafael, I don't know if I'm saying that right. So you said you become vegetarian soon after at the age of 16, and soon after vegan at the age of 16, and now turning 50. So you've been vegan since the age of 16, and you're now turning 52. Am I reading that correctly? Because that's, yeah, very impressive if that's true. So yeah, Ella's comment, poor innocent babies, it's too late for them, but not the ones who haven't been bred yet. End the supply by not demanding it, i.e. not purchasing flesh in a restaurant or a shop. So it's exactly that. This is all supply and demand. These sites all function because of consumers, i.e. us, the public, making choices. Whenever you go into a supermarket, whenever you go into a restaurant, a cafe, if you're ordering products specifically for this site, if you're ordering sheep, lambs, kebabs, whatever it might be, you're paying for these sites to function, and you're paying for animals to directly die for you. You're paying directly for those animals to be strung up by their legs and have their necks sliced open. That is a direct consequence. And if you don't agree with that, just simply stop being a part of the system. Just simply be vegan. It's as simple as that. Being vegan just means I'm going to be kind, I'm going to be compassionate. It's as simple as that. Like, what is stopping you from just being a kind person if you're not vegan already? And if you haven't already, please do double tap the screen, double tap and like this video. It then gets shown to more and more people. So if you haven't already, please double tap the screen and click like on the video. And if you want to subscribe to the channel as well, obviously I do a lot of live streams outside slaughterhouses and street outreach and stuff. Please do go and subscribe to my channel as well. So, Rafał, we've started Animal Liberation Front back in Poland. The slaughterhouse we've been protesting against is in 90s is no more operational. Oh, amazing. So yeah, big up the ALF, and you know, great work that you're doing out in Poland, and it shows, like, you know, pressure does actually work. Pressure genuinely works, because, you know, like you said, like facilities that you were protesting against is now no longer operational, and we're seeing that in the UK as well. So Slaughterhouse in Farnborough, sort of the south of the UK, that closed down last year or the year before. That's totally gone now. You know, so we are having an impact, and that's by people having pressure on the sites, but it's also due to the fact that consumer habits are changing and people are deciding not to support these industries. Thanks, Ella and Aaron, for still being in the chat, answering the comments. Always really appreciate that. Oh, it's hard talking non-stop. Hey Mel and Steve, good to see you. How's it going in your live? Have you managed to get to the location you were going to? But if not, how's the other live streamers going? And yeah, Mel and Steve, so what I did, I just put a poll up in the chat a little bit earlier just to see if other people have been scrolling through live streams, and a lot of people voted yes to seeing other activists outside slaughterhouses today. So it's brilliant that obviously people's algorithm, they're coming into other chats and screens, and now they've come into mine and they've said that they've also seen others. So we're having an impact, we're taking over YouTube, and that's exactly why we're doing this. And also, you know, there's some amazing people in this chat. We've got a lot of vegans here, and a lot of people that have been here from the very start of the live as well. So nearly 2 hours we've been going now, and it's just been fantastic. And people have gone and watched the 3-minute movie in the video description. So Spicy Much, who wasn't a vegan, who's now gone to watch the 3-minute video, now has seen the reality and has realized that she needs to make a change. And they're the sort of people that we're trying to talk to in these live streams, as you know, and it's great that people have those genuine questions, take action, and see that for themselves. And yeah, there's a lot of people in the chat that have just asked genuine questions, and like people like No Peace, some other vegans here, with some really good questions that have just been spurring on the chats as well. So this is, again, likely a refrigeration truck that's taking the animals' bodies out of this facility. There was multiple trucks here at the facility before I joined the stream today. And so this is where the bodies will be transported away, taken to further packaging plants and facilities to basically be chopped up into smaller body parts, packaged and put into supermarkets. So I guess now's a really good time. There's a lot of activists in the comments right now, so it's a really good time. If you're on this live stream, go and follow Broccoli Babe, go and follow the Soy Tan Man, go and follow It's Mel and Steve. They've just put recent comments in the chat. Give each of one of them a subscribe and a follow. They're just all relentless animal rights activists, whether they're live streaming, whether they're doing street outreach, whatever it might be, they are brilliant activists. So please go and give all those 3 people a follow. And again, like, this is a Q&A, so for everyone else in the room, please do put the questions in. Any questions that are about animals and how they're exploited, about the food that we eat, about facilities like this slaughterhouse, any questions about farms, any questions about how old animals are when they're killed, about plants, anything you want to ask about that relates to animals, please do pop them into the chat. As we've got lots of activists and vegans in the chat replying to comments, and I'm picking up as many as I can as I see them come in. I'm simply poking at our worldview, really trying to be genuine here, asking capacity and not judging the world. So it's Des, I don't know if I've asked you this already, but it's Des, have you gone into this video description and watched 3minutes.wtf? Have you watched that 3-minute movie yet? Just curious if you have. I can't remember if I've asked you already. Yeah, Rafael, exactly. No empathy, no mercy, aggression, and then humans are surprised that wars happen. Yeah, it's one of those things, like, we look at how we treat the world, just look at how we treat animals. I'm just gonna flip this around. And as activists, it's always very good to just make sure you've got everything on camera, whether it's on live streams, whether it's on handheld cameras. If there's vehicles coming into these sites, just always make sure you try and capture it on video, or at least just protect yourselves, because trucks that come into these sites, you cannot trust them. Multiple cases in America of activists being run over by big slaughterhouse trucks. We've got Regan Russell, probably the most recent one, where she was standing peacefully and a truck basically run her over and killed her instantly. So always good to protect yourselves and stay alert with vehicles coming in and out of the site. Safety is important, and if these people are capable of taking baby animals to their deaths, to have their heads chopped off and slaughtered, they're probably not going to have much compassion for humans either, and probably won't even think twice about knocking you over. And that's why a lot of people drive past and they mock and they shout things just because they have no compassion. Yeah, Aaron's just made a good point, helping to save animals like cows that are coming into these slaughterhouses. So what people, I think, forget, people like go inside the slaughterhouse, set them free. As much as I'd love to do that, firstly, you've got to have a safe space for them to go to. Sanctuaries are already slightly pressed at the moment. But secondly, even if you were to rescue every animal inside of the slaughterhouse right now, there's going to be another truck that's going to drop off another load more. And this is all because they keep breeding them and they keep supplying them. The only true way to stop this is to stop them breeding them in the first place. Stop the demand and stop people from breeding these animals just for pure consumption. So yeah, I'm still at the belief that since I've turned up, they have stopped the trucks. I think they've diverted them and held them back a few roads down. Actually, nope, it's another refrigeration one. So they had, I think, 2 or 3 trailers when I first arrived, but the fact is they've had 3 fridge trucks and another one turning up now. They obviously had a lot of animals in the rear of the site, because they've got a huge pen at the back, and that's where all the animals will stay. So they could have been dropped off really early this morning and just been waiting there for hours and sort of going through what they call processing in these facilities, killing every individual one by one and then transporting on these trucks away. So Portaccio, they don't care about you being there. So unfortunately, they actually do care about being here. So since I turned up, they've had to have 2 security on the outside now. They have to always stand outside, and even when it was raining. And also we know that they have extra charges for call outs, and obviously my favorite one of all, the white line. So they do care that we're there because they care enough to hire someone to come and paint a white line to try and stop activists from being here. So we know it does have an impact. Paulina, world is full of demons, never stop fighting for animals, go vegan, please subscribe, share. Thank you for being in the chat. You really appreciate you and all the other vegans in this chat, you know, replying to other comments and supporting these live streams. So I think I'm going to put another poll in the chat just to see the consensus. So the question is, do you think animals deserve respect? Has that started? There we go. Oh, moving it over. So, do you think animals deserve respect? Please do vote on the poll. Obviously, I guess the vegans will vote for yes, but curious, if you're not vegan, please vote on this poll. You know, if you're curious about veganism, I'm just interested to see if you think animals deserve respect or not. How many people think yes and how many people think no? I think every organism deserves respect. Sorry, man, like I specified several times, I think the meat industry and meat eating is abhorrent, and I'm opposing some of your viewpoints. Surely that can help meat eaters see discourse. So it's Des, I'm a bit confused now. So are you vegan? It's Des. Because if you're saying that like meat eating is abhorrent, surely that means you don't support it? And especially if you're saying if you think every organism deserves respect. Okay, so you put mostly. So I'm assuming by that you're leaning on the idea of like plant-based. Like, so veganism is very much just you're either for or against exploiting animals. Obviously a plant-based diet, people are mostly plant-based diets, you know, they 90% plant-based but might have some animal products. That's what I would deem that comment of mostly about, is about food. But veganism is a mindset, the mindset that we shouldn't do that. Okay, I'm just going to grab some water. Oh. Thirsty stuff. Right. So I eat bivalves. So yeah, Aaron just put a very good comment. For me, I take a scenario and apply it to human ethics as well. So, you know, let's take racism, for example. Would you say, you know, in the same way, oh, I'm mostly not racist? Uncle Reggie, another triggered person in the chat. So just looking at the poll, so 7% of people have said no. So just what, you just don't care about animals at all? You just don't give a shit? So it's Des, I don't think that's a fair comparison. Again, I'm not sure if you're responding to Aaron's, the Soitan man's or my one, but yeah, apply it to any sort of other injustice. You know, I'm mostly for women's rights. I'm mostly for racism. I'm mostly against the Holocaust. I'm mostly against rape. I'm mostly, whatever it is, like, unless you're talking about, this is where veganism and dietary stuff almost needs that separation. Veganism is a mindset and choices about exploitation, whereas plant-based is the diet where you could be mostly plant-based. Just to clarify that. So looking at the poll as well, but yeah, 94% of people think that animals deserve respect. So based on that, if you voted yes on the poll, yes to you think animals deserve respect, the follow-up question would be, do you think this is a respectful place for animals? Do you think it is respectful that we take animals into slaughterhouses, slice their necks open, kill them for products, chop their heads off? Do you think that is respecting animals? You know, forcing pigs and chickens into CO2 gas chambers, is that respecting animals? Bolt gunning cows to their heads, killing male calves, killing male chicks, is that respecting animals? So it's Des. So what, of course, but you compared my dietary choice. So what I asked was, I said, are you, let me clarify this, it's Des. So I said, are you vegan? And you said mostly. So what I'm doing is just giving you that distinction of veganism isn't the diet. If I had asked, are you plant-based? And you said mostly, that would be an accurate answer. But veganism is a movement that's obviously for the justice of the exploited. So veganism is about the exploitation of animals, but if we look at women's rights, we're talking about the exploitation of women. If we're looking at slavery, whatever other exploitation. So you have a mindset about the exploitation, but when we're looking at food and diet, that is different. So yeah, just to clarify, but it is something that a lot of people intertwine, which is veganism and the dietary side, which is plant-based. So yeah, you're mostly plant-based if it's just bivalves that you consume. But just out of interest, it's there. So what about things outside of food? So do you, for example, support the leather industry, the wool industry, the fur industry? Do you support things like horse racing and greyhound racing? Just interesting to see your stance based on the other exploitations outside of the food system that happens to animals. So, Kieran, hello, it's been a few months since I last saw you live. Your links to what they do to pigs was uncomfortable watch, but educational. Thank you so much for being here, Kieran. Out of interest, what was it that you watched? Was it Pignorant, or was it the 3-minute movie challenge that's in my video description now? But yeah, a lot of them are very uncomfortable to watch. So what I will be releasing this weekend is an investigation into a pig farm. It's completely non-graphic and what you deem as the high welfare, free range pig farm. So if you want to subscribe to this channel and be the first to see that, please do go and subscribe. I'm aiming to get it released this weekend. Mate, your life, stop being pro-victim, pretending to care about everyone and everything. You're clearly just a trust babe. Yeah, what are you on about? People love to just attack when you're speaking up about injustices. Obviously, we're just here to speak about, well, I say we, just me, here to speak up about animals. Trust fund, baby, yeah. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but among other things, electrocuting the pigs. Yeah, it could have been, I mean, I share a lot of things, but in the 3-minute movies link in the video description, you might see it. But yeah, it could have been pigs going into gas chambers, could have been the electrocution baths to chickens or turkeys. Yeah, exactly, Aaron. Yeah, exactly, appointing responsibility, and that's what we do as activists and as vegans. We're just being accountable for our actions, and it's something that, I could have said a lot more about on this stream already is, I talk about people making the decisions with their money and what people vote for with their money, but it's ultimately just about taking yourselves accountable. Because, if you're, and that's why I think a lot of people saying that like these industries are horrible and are wrong, but they're not vegan and they still support them either directly or indirectly. But actually, those sort of people, I think they just maybe hope that it would all disappear, but without taking any actions themselves. So instead, it's all about taking that accountability upon yourself and realizing that you have the power as an individual to do that. Obviously, I'm denying it, and like Aaron said, yeah, I wouldn't be fundraising otherwise. Yeah. Yes, I absolutely can, Kieran. I'm glad you asked. Can you talk more on greyhound racing? I have no interest in horse and dog racing, but would have thought dog racing wouldn't be too bad. I'm open to being wrong. So Kieran, thank you for the question. So I know a lot about greyhound racing and horse racing. So in the last 6 months, there's been a huge campaign to ban greyhound racing in the UK. So Scotland and Wales have now passed the motion to ban it. England, we reached about 55,000 signatures on a petition. And we also have lots of campaigns that are going to speak up for these greyhounds. But ultimately, the reason why it's so bad is, firstly, you're breeding greyhounds to simply try and, be providing entertainment. But if we go through the life of these greyhounds, firstly, they're bred and kept in these barren conditions, bred in Ireland, shipped all the way down to Brighton, seen as just an object and a commodity. They are forced to train at a super young age. And then when they actually go through onto these races, your greyhounds can race at speeds of like 35 miles an hour. And unfortunately, there's so many videos of this. If you look up shutdown campaigns or Animal Aid, any of these campaigns about greyhounding, you can see these videos. But as these greyhounds, if they take any turn, because they're going at such speeds, they often skid off, they hit other dogs, they break their legs, they twist their stomachs. What people don't realise is that with greyhound racing, at every single greyhound track, they have to keep a freezer at the greyhound track in case that a dog dies. And if some people are thinking, well, that might not be that often, one dog died every 3 days on tracks alone in 2024. One dog died every 3 days on tracks alone in 2024. And if you look at the whole year, there was over 350 dogs that died. So that's a dog a day that died from racing-related injuries. So some of them die on the tracks, and some of them will die shortly after because of the injuries that they have sustained. So yeah, greyhound racing is such a cruel sport that we do. And it's the same with horse racing. If you picture the Grand National or Cheltenham, when horses jump over these fences and they don't quite make it, they fall on their legs, they break their necks, they snap their necks, and they bring the the tarpaulin almost to enclose the horses, and they can shoot them there on the course. And then they end up at a horse slaughterhouse to then either kill them if they're not already dead, or to just basically chop up their body parts. So yeah, if we look at the statistics of horse racing, a horse died every other day in the UK every year. And greyhound racing, just on the tracks, is one dog died every 3 days. But overall, on average, it's about a dog died every day because of the industry. So not only do these dogs get completely raced to their full extent, because obviously they're trained to run as fast as possible to win the race, but they, suffer these horrendous injuries. They're kept in awful conditions. But also, these dogs are they are individuals. And why would we just do that just for fun? And the fact is, what's really interesting in a case that why greyhound racing should be banned in the UK is actually, if you're based in the UK, you might have seen that a lot of your local greyhound tracks are actually pretty empty. Some of the stands are just completely empty, but the dogs are still running. And it's because it's actually funded by the gambling industry. From often the populations in, for example, Asia are gambling on greyhounds, keeping the greyhound racing sport active in the UK. It's funded by gamblers, and obviously the people that are breeding and exploiting these lovely greyhounds. So, you can look up all these statistics from the GBGB, the Greyhound Board of Great Britain, and they publish all these statistics. Just end that poll. They publish all the statistics, and we know that these are the reported statistics, so the actual number is going to be higher than that. And yeah, thousands and thousands of injuries every single year and hundreds of deaths. And you know, it's not like this is a point that you can argue about. This is just the facts. This is the statistics. And there are so many of the survivor stories, dogs that have luckily survived greyhound racing and have now been rehomed. And you can see like the injuries they've sustained and the terror that they've been a part of. So yeah, I really appreciate the question, Kieran, because it's a topic that we should be speaking more about. So yeah, for anyone else that's just joined the chat again, so I'm outside the Slaughterhouse today in Dorset in the UK, so southwest of the UK. This is a slaughterhouse that takes sheep, so baby lambs that are about 4 to 6 months old, and they take them into this facility on trucks. They will then take them to the rear of this facility, offload them into a holding pen, be thrown around, ushered through into the kill floor. They'll then be hung up by their legs and have their throats sliced open. And this is all because people consume animal products, people that are purchasing sheep and lamb products. These are sheep that are about 4 to 6 months old. And for those that want to see exactly who's on these trailers, so big trailers and small ones come in, and these are the sheep that comes in on these trailers. And the question is, when you look at these people in the eyes, when you look at these animals, how does it make you feel? So it's Des just saying causing suffering and pain purely for pleasure is immoral. Absolutely agree with you. These are the victims that go in on these trucks. Got to look at them in the eyes. I'm amazed the workers do not get something like PTSD. So that's the thing they do. There's a lot of studies and whistleblowers that come out and obviously talk about the PTSD that they have suffered, because you're kind of assuming like people are going into these murder factories and they're having to kill animals all day. They're having to be around the bloods, guts, and killing animals all day, and it's obviously not going to be great for mental health, and that's why a lot of people do have PTSD, and that's also why the staff turnover at these facilities is so high. So Booby said we are told, oh no, I thought it was a truck, it's just a tractor. Just going to keep an eye on it. So we are told we need it to survive from an early age, and it becomes habit, and some habits are not easy to break. So I agree in the fact that, yeah, we are told we need it. We are given these habits at a young age, and that's why you have to just break those habits. You have to challenge the assumptions. If something is unethical, if something is wrong, you can stop doing it. And that's exactly what happened to me. I watched a documentary called Earthlings, saw the horrors of what we did to animals, and decided to make a change. So Sam, you put, I like meat, but I'll listen. So if you just like the taste of meat, what's stopping you from just eating plant-based products? Because unfortunately, taste doesn't justify the murder of the animals. So, these animals, these sheep in this facility are 4, 5 or 6 months old, and they're going to be strung up by their legs and have their throats sliced open, all for the sake of a meal that you don't need to have. And the fact is, because it's not necessary, it means it's a choice. So when you have the choice between something that is kind and compassionate, or the choice for something that is cruel and horrible and torturous, why would you not want to choose the kinder option? So Chig, Billy, leave the people to do their jobs. They don't have to do anything. They get paid to do so. The fact is we should not be supporting these industries. These industries shouldn't exist. A lot of the workers here are working here purely because, it's a low barrier to entry, probably good pay, but then they have to move on. And the fact is that these industries shouldn't exist for people to work at. They could go and work in a well, anything else. Instead of killing animals, you can go and pick strawberries. So Kieran said, only briefly back on horse racing. I read something about how if a horse breaks a leg, it's very hard to get the horse to be in a position to heal, and also lack of blood. Yeah, so unfortunately, when a horse breaks their leg, like you've just said, they will often then be shot, sometimes on the course. They'll cover them up and they will shoot them. And if you're interested, there's a really good website called Horse Death Watch. It's called Horse Death Watch, and you could look at all the horses that have died, and it will tell you how they died. They'll often use the term destroyed instead of killed. That's what the industry use. They say they destroy the animals. So Rafael's just said about Ital Vital. So yeah, I recently had an outreach conversation with someone who introduced the concept of Ital in, I think, Caribbean culture, where you just sort of eat plants, which I never really knew about. But yeah, if you want to watch that conversation, I've released a video recently about that. But because we're at the top of the food chain, so we buy our meat from a supermarket because we're superior species. Yeah, people talk about the food chain and we're predators, and yeah, people just go down to the local supermarket and take something off the shelf. That's got nothing to do with natural or food chains or anything, has it? Very interesting, Kieran. And Cass, you just put that comment. So Cass said, I like cocaine, doesn't make it right to eat that. Kieran's put, it's really impossible to heal such an injury, question mark. So firstly, Kieran, you might be interested just with the comment above about cocaine. So back to greyhounds, they actually give the greyhounds cocaine and drugs to try and sort of performance enhance. And there's so many studies out there, and you can look that up. But yeah, they also drug their dogs. But secondly, I'm just amazed there isn't something you can do. So yeah, I believe, Kieran, there is definitely something we can do. Is that a truck? It's another refrigeration truck. That's got to be like the 6th refrigeration truck that's come in. So they must have had all the animals come in super early this morning. So I'm just going to turn the camera around. This is where the dead bodies will be taken off from, or taken away from the site on. But yeah, there's definitely things that people can do, and people have obviously rescued horses that were used in racing. So yeah, but this is all part, because this is, you know, the industries, this is their, the way that they do it. It's just that sort of, oh, this is just the way it is. So if a horse falls, they shoot them, and the industry legalizes and is okay with that. I'm pretty sure if vegans were in charge, they would do absolutely everything they can to save any horse that has fallen, gets them to the right veterinary care, has the right facilities, will rehabilitate and rehome. But unfortunately, the industry doesn't think twice. They see them as objects, and they go, oh, that horse is injured now. That's not going to get any money, so they just shoot them. That's the most profit efficient thing for them. Yeah, Kieran, exactly. And that's why we want to make it illegal. That's why Scotland have made it illegal recently, and Wales have also done the same, but England is behind, and we're only one of, I think, the last 9 remaining countries in the world. So if anyone's got any other questions in the chat, please do put them in now. I'll be really interested to see, again, I'm at a slaughterhouse. If you've got any questions about animal slaughter, about farms, about animals, please do put them into the chat. Guy I know got banned from greyhound racing as he gave his dog cocaine to perform better. I mean, yeah, that doesn't surprise me, because we know it happens so often. So the now and the current, if I come down, drivers getting forced to open the trucks and free the animals. So, yeah, I mean, this is something we talked about earlier. Like, we'd love to set them all free right now, but you know, without a safe space to go to, it doesn't make it very practical. I would love that though. Please do come and set them all free. But the argument I was making is that as soon as the animals, let's say, were freed from this facility, there's going to be another truck bringing them in again and again and again. And we have to focus on stopping the supply and changing behavior of people to stop animals from being constantly taken into these facilities. But I'm all for you know, freeing animals, absolutely. So Johnny Mars, asking this kindly as a subscriber, what is your favourite food? That's a great question, because obviously, oh, here's a truck. So this is going to be perfect timing. Please do keep watching, keep watching. These are the animals, these are the victims. They're the animals being taken into slaughter. See, they tried to get them in so quickly, it was stuck behind a truck. Even the truck driver was saying, what are you doing? Because they don't want people filming you. Please rewind that stream and just see exactly what we just captured. Just rewind that the stream 1 minute and you'll see. It's just heartbreaking what we do. It's absolutely heartbreaking. Hope everyone saw that. Aaron, how was the quality of that as I was just showing it inside the truck? I tried to get the camera on focus on, yeah, on the phone. Looked good to me, cool. Yeah, please just rewind that stream like 2 minutes and you can see the animals going in on that truck. But they are the victims, they're the people that we're talking about in this stream today. Saw all their faces, exactly. And it's just as simple as if you want to stop those animals from having their heads chopped off, to be strung up by their legs and their necks sliced open, just stop supporting these industries, stop paying for it. Live vegan, live kind, and it's as simple as that. It's something that I'd always urge everyone to come down to a slaughterhouse and see it for yourself. See the reality for yourself. And if you want to know more, please just go to the video description and watch that 3minutes.wtf. Hey Mel and Steve, I don't know if you just saw that truck that just came in. Yeah, big red truck. It was backed up a bit and they just ushered the refrigeration truck in. But hopefully I got a good stream. It was about three minutes ago maybe the truck came in. But hopefully it was all right. Yeah, if you rewind it like, I think about 3 minutes, you'll be able to see the truck and hopefully the quality was all right. So how many trucks today? So what's happening is I believe they've held all the trucks back because of activist presence, just me. So when I arrived this morning, there was one truck going in and there was already one truck inside. I believe they took the animals in super early this morning as well, probably from about 6:30 onwards, because there's been so many refrigeration trucks come back out. But I do believe they're also holding them back, diverting them or keeping them round. But yeah, if you rewind that stream about 3 or 4 minutes, you should be able to see the truck that just came in. But yeah, Mel and Steve, how's the other streams going at the moment? So yeah, we're part of Project Livestream, which is basically doing live streams all around the country, all around the world. We're here to just shine a light on these industries. We're here to be a window to show you exactly what happens to animals in these facilities and in this industry. So I'm at a slaughterhouse today in Dorset in the UK, and this is a sheep slaughterhouse. And just to show you who is on the trucks and why we're here. So we're here to bear witness to lambs and sheep that are about 4, 5 or 6 months old. These are the animals inside the trailers. You have to ask yourself and look these animals in the eyes and ask yourself, really, do you want to pay for them to have their heads chopped off? And this is cows in the dairy industry. So she would have been a mother about 3, 4 or 5 years old. And ultimately slaughtered for cheap meat, even in the dairy industry. And if you want to see more, please do go to the video description and check out 3minutes.wtf. You can see a 3-minute video of exactly what happens to animals, and you can go and see that reality for yourself. But as I said, this is a Q&A, so please ask any questions you have about facilities like this. If you have any questions about the slaughter of animals, about farms, about how old animals are, about what animals, please do put the questions in the chat like we have been doing. So I've been streaming for about 2.5 hours. And yeah, appreciate all the other vegans in the chat who are also responding to questions. There's a lot that comes through into the chats. So yeah, appreciate people being in here. But yeah, hope everyone is doing well on the other live streams. Mel and Steve, I'm not sure if you're still in there, and Aaron, if you're still here. Hopefully people like Calvin, John, or both Johns rather, and Jake, their streams are going well. Mel and Steve, I don't know if you managed to go live in the end or not. And yeah, anyone else that's also live streaming today and later on today, it's so important what we do. We need to eat, eating vegan shit. So you can just eat plants. It's simple, spin of wheels, you just eat plants. Because I'll tell you what is disgusting is what we do to these animals. Animals that go into the rear of this facility, get ushered in, punched, kicked, beaten, thrown about, then get strung up by their legs and have their neck sliced open, all for the sake of a lamb product, a kebab or whatever it might be. But this is just a sheep slaughterhouse. There's cow slaughterhouses, pig slaughterhouses, chicken slaughterhouses. If we talk about pigs that are also 6 months old, they're lowered down into gondolas, into these metal crates. They are lowered down into concentrated CO2 gas, where they are burnt from the insides, their lungs burn, their eyes burn, and they suffocate to death. That is the same as what happens to chickens as well. So Kieran is saying, sorry to repeat the question, ways animals are destroyed, which would you say is the least horrific for the animals? So I don't know if you're still talking about the horses. So in the horse racing industry, that's how they determine, or the language used to kill the animals, they'll put destroyed, basically. They'll destroy the horses on race courses because they don't want to use the word killing. But unfortunately, there is no answer to that question. There is no least horrific way to die for animals to die. If I had to answer, the least horrific way for an animal to die would be for animals to die naturally. Otherwise, there is no right or wrong way to kill an animal. Whether it's in a facility like this, which claims to sometimes stun them, sometimes not, they have their throats sliced open. Whether in pigs, they're going into gas chambers, chickens that get electrocuted and put into gas chambers. There is no, or even if we're talking about animals that are being hunted out in the countryside, birds that are being shot down from the sky, foxes that are being torn apart from hounds that are trained to kill. Spicy much. Great live, Alex. Giving me some real things to think about here. Keep up the good work, and I wish you all the best in the future. Thank you so much, Spicy much, for being here. And like I said, please do drop me a message on Instagram, Alex Activism. Let's chat further, because I know you watched the 3-minute movie challenge, so you might have some further questions. But I hope this stream has really made you think, and yeah, made you change. And you can now open your eyes, be more compassionate, and hopefully live vegan. So any more questions into the chat, just scroll back to the bottom. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Aaron's just put that comment about those questions. So yeah, Kieran's put, I think he is just passionate. Why the disrespectful comments? So yeah, often on these live streams, there's so many disrespectful people, disrespectful trolls. They're just here to cause chaos. You know, a lot of them are actually part of this industry, and that's why. You know, we get farmers in here, we get slaughterhouse workers in here, and they're the people that are really active on the chats. But they're the people that, you know, I'm not paying as much attention to if it's just trolling comments. I'm here to speak to people with genuine questions, which we have had a lot of people in the chat today with genuine questions. And the people that don't ask any questions, the people that just watch and observe and listen, they're the people that I'm trying to reach. And perhaps for everyone in the chat right now, put a number 1 in the comments if you're vegan. Put a number 1 in the comments if you're vegan. If you're open to being vegan or want to know more about being vegan, put the number 2 in the comments. Type the number 2 in the comments. And if you're just a troll here just to think you're funny and try and cause chaos, put a number 3 in the comments. So put number 1 if you're vegan, 2 if you're open to being vegan, and 3 if you're here just to troll. Just so we've got a judge on who are here. So Sam, we've got number 2, Kieran, number 2. So yeah, Kieran, please drop me a message on Instagram, Alex Activism. Let's talk a bit further if you're open to being vegan, and hopefully some of the stuff on this live stream has made you think, but also go to the 3minutes.wtf. So if you go to my video description, go to 3minutes.wtf, you can see exactly what happens to animals, the truth of the industry in just 3 minutes. I'd urge everyone to do that. Anyone that's put a number 2, subscribe to my channel and go and watch that video in the description. So just checking through the numbers here. Great to see the vegans here. Now Current, Kaz, obviously Aaron. Spinner Wheels, lovely troll in here as well. So Steve, but 2, but I harvest my own meat sustainably. I'm just curious, how do you harvest your meat sustainably? That's why we're number 1, because we're the best. Exactly, exactly. So I'll take a wild deer. So Steve, are you saying the only animals you eat are wild deer? Just interested. So different opinions equal being a troll. So the difference, Spin of Wheels, is we have people in the comments who are asking genuine questions, and we have people that are just in the comments just spouting nonsense that have no real interest in actually engaging properly. So if you genuinely have questions, you want to have a conversation, then yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that you're a troll. You said, because I eat meat, you have a problem. Yeah, that I do have a problem is, because by you saying because I eat meat, is saying I support these slaughterhouses, you know, I fund it with my money. And the question is, for those that are putting a number 3, the people that are talking about pork and the people that are talking about things being yummy, if you don't correct me, then the assumption is that you're just a proud animal abuser. You are proud and happy and get joy out of animals being killed and suffering for you. If you don't prove me wrong, then that is the assumption that we take when you put those comments. So Lavender, you said, I haven't eaten meat in 5 months. Just curious, what was it that made you stop eating meat in the last 5 months? So Steve said, I support vegans. I support anyone that has that level of commitment. I mean, yeah, brilliant. Thank you for having that support. And we just hope that with these types of actions that people do genuinely make a change. Adrian has said, we can agree to disagree. That's why we have choices today. I mean, yeah, this is it. There's always going to be a difference of opinion. But where we can stand up about an injustice, we have to speak about it. Like every injustice in the world, whether we're talking about, you know, looking back in the past, we're talking about women's rights, slavery, anything like that. Like, people disagreed on those topics, but didn't stop people from speaking up and being active about it. And that's exactly what we're doing about the animals. We're speaking up about that. We know that people aren't gonna all support the viewpoint that vegans have. But we don't need everyone to do that to make a change in society. We need a small group of people to be accountable for their actions, to decide to become vegan and decide to become active. And we know that mobilising a population of about 3.5% can make societal change happen. And that's the people that we're trying to speak to. So Kieran, you put, if I was introduced to a plant-based substitute that tastes good, is nutritious and isn't expensive, I'd be very interested at least in trying it. So Kieran, it's, very quickly on the food expensiveness then. So you might say like the comparable products, so like an animal chicken breast versus a vegan chicken breast, maybe the vegan one is slightly more expensive. But firstly on that, if you can afford it, it's obviously totally worth it. But actually when you look at the whole food plant-based diet, or like less of the like mock meats and stuff, there's studies that show that on average, a weekly supermarket shop is 30% cheaper for people on a plant-based diet. And the reason for that is that the most accessible and cheap foods, things like rice, pasta, beans, legumes, fruits, vegetables, they are obviously much more affordable than, let's say, your mock meat. So and in terms of proteins, you've got tofu, tempeh, seitan, beans, legumes. You can get all those foods at a cheap price in the supermarket when you don't have to buy the equivalent products. So yeah, again, this is where things like Google and ChatGPT come in really useful. Say, these are the foods I like, or the taste of the foods I like. This is my budget. You know, this is what I shop at, or where I shop at, like recommend me some things to do on this budget. And you'll find the equivalent. So if you want, you know, burgers, there's a way of getting a plant-based version of that, whether it's like a brand that do vegan ones, or if it's more of the homemade brands, like places like Lidl do their own versions that are super affordable in their meat-free range. So John Partridge said, what percentage of the world population is vegan, 1 or 2? Yeah, it's about 1 or 2%. And the idea is that if you mobilise a population of 3.5%, you can make societal change happen. But that doesn't mean that, firstly, everyone has to be vegan as much as we'd love it to be. If people just start speaking up for animals, people will get to veganism. But we need people to be active and stand up for these injustices. And if you're not vegan, obviously you're supporting those industries. But a lot of people, how they sometimes get into veganism and animal rights is speaking up about an issue that they could relate to. For example, people are against fox hunting, might go out and try and stop foxes from being hunted into the fields, and then realise, oh, actually, well, if it's not okay to kill a fox, then it's not okay to kill a cow. So, you know, really speak up about your passions and realise that your compassion extends much more than what you may believe. So Casper, Alex, that's a good question. It's about taste and texture sometimes. You can ethically dislike meat practices but enjoy taste. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said earlier, like people don't go vegan because of taste. And that's why people make the meat alternatives, like the vegan meats and the plant-based meats. They make them similar texture and similar tastes so that people can still enjoy that experience without an animal having been killed. So when you have those options, it's like, why on earth are you paying for an animal to die when you have these alternatives that taste the same, look the same? Yeah, what is the justification? I'll try it. The big one will be to pass the kids' taste test. We could definitely say we will have the days of the week that will be meat-free. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I imagine, like, let's say, for example, vegan chicken nuggets, that's just as an example. When you do taste tests, like, you would never even notice the difference. You know, you go to McDonald's, you've got the McPlant, for example. Like, there's so many good options out there, especially in 2026 now. The options in supermarkets are incredible. So, yeah, there's so many brands that you can try. And you know, just because you try one product doesn't mean that they all taste like that. Like a lot of people talk about, for example, Linda McCartney's, and they'll go, oh, that wasn't very nice. It's like, well, try a different brand, try This Isn't, or Richmond's vegan range, or something like that. So Sam's saying McPlant tastes so bad, but it doesn't taste of murder. It doesn't taste of animals' dead bodies. It doesn't taste like a farm. So facts, not feelings, legitimate question, what happens to these animals if you accomplish goals? Cheers, Aaron, thanks for being on. So yeah, what happens to the animals? It's what I mentioned earlier. It can go one of two ways, what people seem to believe. There's either, oh yeah, good luck, Aaron, with that, and get them before next week. And say hello to Joe and the crew. Hope it goes well. Yeah, so animals, some people say animals are going to overpopulate and run riot. Some people say animals are going to go extinct. The fact is that these 92 billion land animals are bred into production for people to consume. When people start making compassionate choices and go vegan, the production of those animals, the breeding of those animals will decline because less people are wanting that. So over time, you'll see that decline of animals being bred into production and for consumption. So animal populations will decline because they're not bred for that. You know, and animals can, ideally, when you get to an end state, and ideally this will be sooner rather than later, but we have sanctuaries that look after animals. We have animals that can naturally live in the wild. But the question is, like, we shouldn't just breed animals and kill them at a young age just for our consumption. So yeah, anyone in the chat right now, if you haven't already, please do go and subscribe to my channel. If you want to see more live streams like this outside of Slaughterhouse, or often doing, you know, Q&As or street outreach, please go and subscribe to my channel. And yeah, stay tuned with a lot of content. And if you haven't already, please double tap the screen and like this video as it gets shown to more and more people. So I've been out for, yeah, nearly 3 hours outside the Slaughterhouse today. Best case scenario, they're released into the wild. I mean, the best case scenario is that we just stop exploiting and using them. Ultimately, it's just leaving animals alone. So as long as the animals are, you know, because the way that obviously the country is structured and the fact that this is all farmland in the countryside, for example, like, we need to make facilities available for animals to live happily without exploitation of us humans. You know, we've adapted so much in society. I think we would find a way to look after animals and live harmoniously with them. This being looks about 43. Genuinely, do I really look 43? It's because of the lack of sleep, because I've got to get up so early to go to a slaughterhouse. Alex needs to get a life. 100%, yeah, I need to get a life. Yeah, there's not much of one here to coming here, is it? Just standing outside a slaughterhouse, and it's not much of a life. But we've got to do it because those animals are having their lives taken away. So if they don't have someone speaking up for them, they won't have anyone. Love seeing the ages. Thanks, yeah, 22, that's much better than 43. So yeah, please do subscribe to this channel and go to the video description as well and watch the 3minutes.wtf. Go and watch that 3-minute movie and it will change your life. And thank you for all the vegans being in the chat today. Broccoli Babe, I know you're still going strong in the comments, and we've had so many activists in the comments today. But we're not going to stop. We'll always be outside these facilities. This is part of Project Livestream, where we've got activists all around the world going to slaughterhouses, going to farms, doing outreach, all taking part. We've still got security keeping a close eye. As I said earlier, 2 security guards have to be here just because of 1 activist presence, and they have to stay outside the whole time keeping an eye. So even just 1 person can have the pressure on these facilities. I just did your ChatGPT earlier, typed in a link towards corn strip. So be careful with corn. So corn used to be have a lot of vegan products. But corn often put egg in their products now, so you've got to make sure that they are 100% vegan products. So you might want to put that into the prompts, as yeah, corn have started integrating egg into their products now. That's disgusting. Why eat sentient animals? Exactly, we should not be eating any sentient being. Yeah, Broccoli Babe, Kieran, you might want to look into this, but like This Isn't is a really good brand. It's like a black and white packaging called This. They do really good vegan products. They've got Vivera, you've got, you know, even Richmond do good vegan sausages and burgers. Redefine Meat. But to be honest, like, I don't have too many meat alternatives now. I just eat more like whole food plant-based. So things like tofu, get an air fryer if you haven't already, and marinate tofu. Delicious. You've got tempeh and seitan, really high in protein, beans and legumes. So you've got lots of food choices that you can experiment with. So yeah, please do subscribe to this channel, and hopefully I'll be at a slaughterhouse again very soon. Thank you everyone for being in the chat. Is this a truck? Yes, it is. So, truck coming. That was going very fast. You see all the wool getting stuck right on the into the slats. Another huge trailer just gone in. So a bit harder to see on that one than the previous one. But really, yeah, like Broccoli Babes just said, really crammed in. You could see the wool just peering out the side. And this is why we should not be supporting these industries like these. So this is the sheep that would have been on the inside of that trailer. These are the individuals. These are the victims inside those trailers. And in similar trailers, we also have dairy cows. Like, look into their eyes. If you truly have any sort of kindness or compassion, like, look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I actually a kind person? And if you believe that you are, you just need to take that accountability upon yourself and decide to live vegan. Decide to live against exploiting for all of these animals. Stop paying for animal products in supermarkets. Stop paying for their skin, their wool, their fur. Stop supporting animals in entertainment and live vegan. This is the truck that came in, I'd probably say about 20 minutes ago. Just gonna flip that around. Look at the size of them. Yeah, wool is not a byproduct. They are co-products. You should look up the wool industry and see how sheep are treated in that industry. But yeah, thank you again for all the vegans being here. Please do subscribe to this channel. And you have, like, there's a lot of people like It's Des, we've got Kieran. Drop me a message on Instagram if you want. We can talk a bit more about veganism, about whatever you want to talk about, and happy to have further conversations. How many do you suppose are in one of those trucks? I mean, depending on how big they are, like the age and the size, you can get from the small trailers, you're in the dozens, but in the double deck tiers, you could, get into the hundreds. Sometimes they have those trucks with double-sided trailers off the back of them, so you've got 2 layers by 2 trucks. So yeah, we're talking going from dozens to the low hundreds. So I just see YouTube. Yeah, in that case, yeah, feel free to just stay subscribed to my channel. Also on TikTok if you're on that as well. But yeah, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Drop us a subscribe, drop me a message, and stay tuned on these as I'll be going live a lot more. So thanks everyone for being on the stream. Live vegan and just be kind to animals.